What's up? What's up? Shout out to everybody in the building, man. We got some breaking news, man. Looks like that boy David just might be taking a trip, dog. As they say that his arrest is inevitable. It, it's gonna happen, you know what I'm saying? They just don't know when. They saying sometime after the new year, they gonna be looking for that guy. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, y'all. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. If you in here, make sure you double tapping that screen. Most definitely get them likes up. We up late, man. You know what I'm saying? Then my notifications go out. I'm just saying, we got anybody in the building? Yeah, man. Till we get some people in here. What's up, y'all? How y'all been? I most definitely been good. Just been chilling. Happy holidays to everybody. What's up, sweet babe? Happy holidays to everybody. I hope everybody had a good Christmas, a blessed Christmas. We most definitely in the building, man. We got Tyler Robinson went to court today. It looks like he got a gag order. You know, he's trying to get him to gag certain things in his case. We got this situation right here with David and Celeste, where it looked like David about to get picked up, man. They found a chainsaw at his crib. I'm just saying, they found a chainsaw and an incinerator at his crib, you know. So it could be most definitely bad on him, man. Like I said, Tyler Robinson. Then we got Tyler Perry. He done caught another lawsuit. Lord, have mercy. Miss Fat, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Got that boy, you know what I'm saying? Tyler Perry done got into some more trouble as well. As well as them talking about those new million Epstein files. Something I broke to y'all first over here the other day when they first started putting it out that the DOJ said they had brand new Epstein files. This is crazy, y'all. Yeah, it's a lot going on. Miss Fat, how you been? I hope you had a blessed Christmas as well as Sweet Babe, man. Turn this music off real quick. Yeah, y'all know that's just how I bring in my intro. But can y'all hear everything? Can y'all hear and see me? You know what I'm talking about? Can y'all hear and can y'all hear me? You know, and see what I basically have on the screen right now. This is them basically going to talk about Celeste and Dane David, y'all, as we get the show underway, man. Make sure you double tapping that screen if you new. Make sure you most definitely subscribing to the channel. You know, click those three dots in the right-hand corner, hit that thumbs up. Hey, man, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. Well, let's find out what's going on with David, man. You know, in this chainsaw they found in his crib.
Abandoned in the Hollywood Hills and discovered the dismembered body of teenage runaway Celeste Rivas Hernandez. There has been a ton of speculation. There has been a ton of suspicion, and all of it has centered around the singer named David. It's pronounced David, but it's spelled with a 4. You can see right down there on your screen. The Tesla was his, and Celeste was his underage girlfriend, and he has not been seen in public since his world tour. It was abruptly scrapped. He hasn't said a word in public about any of this. And now comes a new bombshell report from TMZ that David...
Now, he got some pretty hefty allegations on his shoulders. It is crazy he hasn't said anything in public regarding this whole entire matter.
They will likely face charges early in the new year.
Most likely. Listen.
TMZ that David will likely face charges early in the new year.
You hear that?
TMZ that David will likely face charges early.
Look like he could be going to jail, guys.
They and also us, we have reported on a grand jury that's secretly been happening. There's been these hearings with evidence. They've been going on for weeks. And TMZ says the prosecutor in charge believes that David did have a hand in his girlfriend's death. This has been ongoing, and there's been so many different moving pieces to all of it. I'm joined once again by veteran private investigator Steve Fisher, who has been on this story really since almost the very beginning, uncovered a ton of leads, clues, evidence, been in Los Angeles, breaking new developments all along. So, Steve, it's good to see you tonight. You were hired by the owner of the home that David was renting, and you actually went inside the home. What sort of was there any potential evidence? Did you see anything that really stood out to you?
Yeah, well, so we announced previously that we found a burn cage incinerator there for one. And another thing I can tell you tonight is that along with that, we found a chainsaw, brand new. It was with the incinerator. And there's no purpose for a chainsaw to be at this rental house. They're certainly not in charge.
So, according to police reports, they said that her head was still attached. But then I don't know if that what they said about it being dismembered. Was it not dismembered or something? But this chainsaw situation sounds significant to him that they found a chainsaw at David's crib. You know, David lives in LA. They don't feel like it's any need for him to have a chainsaw at the house unless he was cutting up her body. I'm just saying.
Trim the trees or anything. So, we can't say exactly, it was unused just like the incinerator, but I think, it could go to show some intent.
Hold up, y'all. Hold on real quick. Something I should have did that I forgot to do. Give me a second real quick, y'all. Just a half a second, to straighten this all the way out. I forgot to do this in the beginning, guys. Give me a second. Hold on. Give me a half a minute. I'm still here. I just forgot to do this. I got to do it. I got to do it or it won't be right. Let me make sure I got all my ducks in a row. Hold on real quick. Yeah, give me a second. We ain't went nowhere. This is your time to double tap the screen. If you have not, double tap that screen. Most definitely hit that like button. Hit the lock button. That's how you hit it, by double tapping the screen or clicking those three dots, hitting that thumbs up, guys. Hold on real quick. Make sure I take care of my business on my end because I forgot to do it. And I know I did. Hold on. What's up, y'all? We getting right back to it. I ain't went nowhere. I just had to make sure I got my stuff together over here because I most definitely forgot to do this before I started the show. That's what too much time off do to you. Hey, you forgetting to do stuff that's important that you need to do. Hold on. Okay. That was good. I was already where I was supposed to be at. I just need one more thing. Switch that. All right, now we ought to be good. We ought to be all the way good. We ought to be extra good, super good, good. Hold on. Let's go back where we was at. All right, let's get back over here where we was at. Get this back right. Shout out to y'all, though, man. We getting to it. Hold on.
Because whatever happened here, it wasn't a finalized plan. She was not meant to be left in that Tesla on Bluebird Avenue. And so, the plan got upended.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about the burn box in a second. I think that's what is that what you called it, a burn box?
What's up, Purple Groove?
Burn cage.
Burn cage. Yeah. Okay. But first of all, I want to get to the chainsaw because I don't think I've heard that before, that there was a chainsaw inside the home. Where was it?
It was in the garage, and it had not been used. It still had the protective shield over the chain itself. But there it is with a burn cage, and you got to wonder what this plan was, or what the plan could have been, and it's troubling because there's really no, just like the burn cage, there's no purpose for that house,
So the chainsaw, he was renting the house, correct? Because it's the owner who hired you?
Yeah, actually he wasn't. It was Josh Marshall, his manager. The owner, one of the reasons I got hired is because the owner was trying to figure this out. He didn't know who David was. He had never heard of David before. He thought Josh Marshall was living in the house with his family.
And did the owner confirm that the chainsaw was not his?
Yes, it's definitely not the owner's. Yeah,
I'm just thinking.
It's not the owner's chainsaw, guys.
Why you would have a chainsaw in the middle of LA when you're renting a house? I'm just trying to think.
That question I told y'all. They wondering why he would have a chainsaw renting a house in LA.
Renting a house.
Y'all let me know. Why would he have a chainsaw?
I'm just trying to think of a reason for that. It seems kind of strange.
Yeah, it is strange because, first of all, to use a chainsaw takes a little bit of training not to hurt yourself. And listen, they're not responsible for any of that, taking care of the outside the property or anything. So what is the purpose? And then when you couple it with not just the incinerator, but now a deceased, 14-year-old in a Tesla that's been parked at that property, it becomes really troubling. And, hopefully there's going to be some justice here soon. It's been going on a long time.
Yeah, it seems like it's really dragged on. In terms of the burn cage, I'm not really familiar with that. What is it? Describe to me, what is a burn cage?
So it's literally it's a steel cage that it can withstand temperatures up to 1,600 degrees, and they're used a lot on like farms to incinerate everything from trash to animals, and to break everything down. And it actually, the advertising on it is, if you go to your YouTube page, it says, burns at 1,600 degrees. Well, when human cremations are done at 1,400 degrees. So this has the ability to literally cremate a person if you wanted to, and makes you wonder what the intent was.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and down.
All right, so they saying that David is going to be picked up, basically indicted in the new year, guys, as well as them finding a chainsaw at his house in like a, I don't know, a burn barrel. That's what I'm going to call it. They an incinerator that burns at 16,000 degrees. You need 14 to cremate a body. 16 is more than enough. They're basically assuming that he might have been using his burn cage, that's what it's called, as a way to potentially burn her body, or and use the chainsaw basically to chop it up. That's what they saying. Breaking news in the David case, he could be going to jail at the beginning of the new year. All right, so let's move right along to the person who took out Charlie Kirk, man. Tyler Robinson had a court date today, man. Where he basically tried to get like a gag order, but that's what he went for today, trying to get a gag order on the case, certain things not to be disclosed. Let's see what exactly they're talking about with Tyler Robinson.
Live, we are turning now to Utah, where the suspect in the Charlie Kirk assassination is back in court today. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is accused of murdering the conservative activist during a rally that was held at Utah Valley University just earlier this year. The judge is expected today to rule on several motions, including whether or not to allow cameras at future hearings. Before we get you back into court, here's court.
We want to see if they're gonna allow cameras in the future hearings. So we might not be hearing no more about what basically happened to Charlie Kirk. If they say the cameras can't come in, it'll be a lot of outside reporting going on and won't be any kind of video. Why does he look like he could be long lost saloon Charlie Kirk?
Sport TV affiliate KSTU with a closer look at the suspect, Tyler Robinson.
Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident.
From his apartment to his family's home, the FBI police combed every inch.
Yeah, we need to most definitely double tap that screen, guys. Let's get some more likes. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. This is everything I know about Tyler Robinson's court appearance today.
Of Tyler Robinson's life, his family expressing to law enforcement that he had become more political in the last few years.
Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate.
Neighbors across the community were hurt, confused at what they called a quiet man turned to suspected political assassin.
I just learned half hour ago, my son called me and said, "Did you know it was your neighbor?" I said, "No."
This neighbor said Robinson used to come over and help her mow her lawn when he was a kid.
Whenever I've needed
they done got the people who knew him personally to start talking, guys.
anything, they've been able to come over and help very graciously and kindly.
So who is 22-year-old Tyler Robinson? We know he was raised in Washington, Utah. Yearbook photos show him in nearby Pineview High School. Robinson attended one semester at Utah State University, but never at Utah Valley, where the shooting happened. More recently, he was enrolled at Dixie Technical College. Administration confirmed in a news release.
Oh yeah, I like this. This is Tyler Robinson, the assumed person who took out Charlie Kirk, guys. His history, his background, what made him who he is.
That Robinson is a student in the electrical apprenticeship program.
I heard that he's from St. George, and I'm like, man, that's crazy. And then I see a picture of him, and I'm like, I know this guy. I've seen him. I'm pretty sure I went to school with him.
Carson Knight couldn't believe it as he realized Robinson was a classmate in that program.
What classes were you taking together? We were taking residential electrical. And I remember where he sat in comparison to me and seeing him every day. From what I remember, he sat by himself in the back of the class. So I don't remember everyone ever sitting next to him.
As our cameras were rolling on scene, the FBI focused a lot of attention on a shed at the back of the house. They also focused attention on the car, lifting the hood and eventually towing it.
Oh, man.
And as those around the home try to make sense of all of this, they're also praising the bravery of the Robinson family and friends for speaking up and turning him in.
That they did the right thing, and
There's a lot of people out there that agree with Candace Owens that this guy may not be the right guy. What y'all think about that?
justice will be served.
Let's go into court together now for the start of the hearing.
Calling case 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could the parties please enter their appearances?
We're Christopher Ballard, Chad Grunander, Lauren Hunt, and David Sturgill on behalf of the state.
Good morning.
Catherine Nestor, Michael Burt, Richard Novak, and Stacy Visser on behalf of Mr. Robinson.
Good morning, counsel.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jeff Hunt and David Ryman on behalf of the Deseret News, KSL, and other media interveners.
Good
morning, Your Honor. Michael
Now
John.
remember, this is for a gag order and like a motion to keep the news from being able to film, like basically closing the whole situation down to the media. You know, but it looked like the judge said they can.
Half of the Salt Lake
But I'm
Tribune
just
and other
saying that's
media
what it's about.
interveners.
Thank you, and good morning to you. Mr. Robinson, are you with us?
Oh,
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Robinson, good morning to you as well. All right. The court appreciates the patience of the parties while it considered issues raised by the media interveners, an appropriate classification of the transcript and audio recording from the October 24th hearing. The court has taken the necessary time to conduct a careful, independent review of the written submissions, oral arguments, and applicable legal authorities, and to thoughtfully evaluate the matters presented. In doing so, the court has remained mindful of its duty to balance competing constitutional interests. Openness and transparency are foundational to our judicial system and essential to maintaining public confidence. At the same time, the public's right to access is qualified, not absolute, and may be limited when a legally sufficient justification exists. The court recognizes the substantial public interest in these proceedings and has approached its review with that interest firmly in mind. The court has independently reviewed the October 24th transcript and audio recording in its entirety in determining whether any restrictions on public access is warranted. The court considered whether such limitations are necessary to protect specific constitutional interests and whether less restrictive alternatives could adequately address those concerns. The carefully limited redactions ordered are narrowly tailored and designed to protect those interests while preserving the public's ability to understand the substance, context, and significance of the proceedings. By way of context, the transcript of the October 24th hearing consists of 83 pages, 80 of which contain verbatim record of the proceedings. Each page includes 25 lines of text, and the transcript reflects just over 2 hours of the courtroom proceedings. The duration of the hearings was 2 hours and 19 minutes. The closed hearing held on December 11th included detailed arguments from defense, prosecution, and counsel for the news media regarding what portions of the record should remain private and what should be made public. That hearing likewise lasted nearly 2 hours, during which time counsel addressed these issues carefully, line by line and word by word. The court acknowledges and appreciates the diligence, professionalism, and preparation demonstrated by all parties during both hearings. After full consideration of these arguments, the court determined that 246 words, approximately 1 page of the 80-page transcript should be redacted. No other portions of the transcript were found to warrant restriction. The court further notes that the matters addressed during the October 24th hearing, including issues related to civilian clothing and shackling, are best understood when considered in their full context. The limited scope of the redactions.
All right, if you're just now getting here wondering what we're paying attention to, this is Tyler Robinson, the accused person who took out Charlie Kirk. This is his court hearing today about audio and transcripts he's ruling on that from prior and whether or not to let the media in or not.
Reflect the court's effort to preserve that context to the greatest extent possible. The redacted transcript will be promptly filed on the docket by the end of today. The corresponding audio recording will require additional time to ensure that it precisely reflects the approved redactions and that no protected material is inadvertently disclosed. The court anticipates the audio recording will be available within approximately 2 weeks. This court notes the importance of the audio in addition to the transcript, because hearing what was said and how it was said is equally as important as just the transcript itself. The court's sole objective in this process has been to ensure a fair, orderly, and lawful proceeding that reflects the constitutional rights of the parties while honoring the public's qualified right of access. The court notes that the standing decorum order has also been updated and directs all parties to review the order in advance of future hearings. Accordingly, the court now issues the following order regarding the classification of the transcript and audio recording of the October 24th hearing. And turning to the order itself. The state of Utah and defendant Tyler James Robinson filed a motion to classify the transcript and audio of the sealed October 24th, 2025 hearing as private. Because the press requested notice of all such motions, the court held a closure hearing on December 11th, 2025 to address the classification of the transcript and audio recording of the October 24th, 2025 hearing. Prior to that closure hearing, the parties filed a joint status report identifying some 20 provisions of the transcript for redaction and stating that the balance of the transcript may be classified as public. Having reviewed the relevant pleadings from the parties and representatives of the press and heard oral arguments during the December 11th closure hearing, the court now rules and orders as follows. The public has a presumptive right to access court records. See Utah Rules, Judicial Administration 202.02 sub 1. That right, however, is not absolute. To support and achieve certain interests and objectives, a court may close portions or entire court records. Court record. A court may consider any relevant factor, interest, or policy, both in favor of and opposed to closure, in determining whether to redact portions of or close all or part of a court record. In deciding whether to redact or close a court record, a court must balance the interests favoring opening and closing the record, and if it determines to close the record, determine there are no reasonable alternatives to closure. The parties have argued, and the court has considered.
This judge started in one place and went to another. That's my opinion from the bench. I want to break down a little bit of what just happened. First of all, he stated openness and transparency of the judicial system is essential. Absolutely. But then he said the public's right to access is qualified, not absolute, which is true. I thought that meant he wouldn't release it, but he just ordered that the redacted transcript from that hearing that lasted a little more than 2 hours on October 24th will be released. A significant decision by the court, because there is a right to access. That means the media gets to see that. We don't know what happened. It's huge that now we will have a look behind closed doors and find out what the arguments were, what the court's decision was, and what that means for the trial against Tyler Robinson. Big developments here. Stay tuned. We're going to bring you more after this break.
They ain't taking no break.
Hearing scheduled today. Tyler Robinson, who is appearing at today's hearing virtually, is charged with murdering Charlie Kirk earlier this year while he was speaking at a Utah college. Let's go back into the courtroom now. We're going right back in where we left off. The judge is delivering his decision about a hearing that lasted more than 2 hours and was closed to the public. Let's go back in.
Protecting safety interests. 2, protecting privacy interests and non-party participants. And 3, protecting the defendant's right to a fair trial. Approximately half the portions of the transcript the parties seek to redact address courtroom and courthouse security measures. Safety concerns are well recognized as justification for closure of court records. This undoubtedly includes references in the court record to specific safety measures undertaken as part of the court security plan and practices in highly publicized cases. This case generates extraordinary ongoing national and international attention, some of which is threatening in nature to the parties, their representatives, and non-party participants. The safety and well-being of all involved in this matter outweighs the interests of the public that are served by open court records. Nevertheless, and as the parties recognize, the court need not seal the entire transcript and audio of the October 24th, 2025 hearing to protect the safety interests of all those involved. Redacting selective portions of the transcript and the audio that reference security measures will serve safety interests while allowing for as much public access to the remainder of the record as possible.
Yeah, so you hear him say, leaving access to the public. You know, they most definitely want us to know what's going on.
The court hereby orders the redaction of the portions of the transcript corresponding audio referencing security measures identified in the parties' joint status report and further pared down during the closure hearing. These include the following portions of the October 24th, 2025 hearing transcript. Page 4, line 19 through 22, following the word unshackling until the sentence begins with the word and. Page 4, line 25 until page 5, line 1, including the first sentence of the last paragraph. Page 5, line 9 through line 10, following the word proceeding and ending before the word but. Page 5, line 18 and 19, including the entirety of the bailiff's comment. Page 33, line 17 through 18, following the word courtroom until the end of the sentence. Page 34, lines 5 through 7,
blah, blah, blah,
following the word arrested until the end.
I so appreciate a meticulous judge going through line by line what will be redacted. We'll talk about that as well as hear more of the judge's ruling. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
He claimed dying was not a crime, but prosecutors thought it.
Tyler Robinson. He's a 22-year-old and is accused of shooting and killing conservative political activist Charlie Kirk. Robinson surrendered to police back in September, a day after the shooting, and is facing multiple charges, including aggravated murder. Let's go back into the courtroom together now and listen to the remainder of today's hearing.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
The court has considered the interest favoring closure of the remaining 2 requests for redaction and concludes that the information is not of a highly personal or sensitive.
So right now they have censored some things, but now he's saying that they're gonna release the censored parts to the public.
Nature. Privacy interests do not outweigh the public's interest in this case. Therefore, the court denies redactions of the following portions of the transcript. Page 35, lines 16 through 17,
Now we ain't reading
are
all of them.
violating defendant's right to a fair trial. Defendant's first line of defense is found in the rules of evidence in criminal procedure. Closing or redacting these portions of the transcript in audio is outweighed by the interests and the objectives served by open court records and mooted by prior disclosures and the information. Therefore, the court denies the request to redact the following portions of the transcript in audio. Page 55, lines 2 through
He
7.
went line to line
Page
reading
6,
all of them.
timestamps corresponding to the redacted portions of the transcript, which
I ain't finna
selected
listen to no
portions
bunch of stuff
once
about no
identified
redactions.
shall
Hold on.
with your loved ones. The next hearing is set for January 16th at 1 p.m. And Mr. Robinson, I will see you there
When is
at
it
that
again?
time.
Say it again so I can know.
Wishes all parties a peaceful holiday season and hopes that each of you is able, to the extent possible, to spend time with your loved ones. The next hearing is set for January 16th at 1 p.m.
So his next hearing is January 16th at 1 p.m. We most definitely will be in the building. But anyway, this was a hearing for Tyler Robinson today about, the gag order that was put on the case or whatever, with the redacted transcripts that was put out. The judge basically ruled that they will unredact them. You know what I'm saying? Basically, they're going to put out all the information as much as they can, without the redactions. Let's keep this moving along because I ain't want to focus there too long anyway. Yeah, man. Here go them talking about, the government said they found over 1 million new documents when it comes to the Epstein files, guys. Because, they putting stuff out. Some pages are blank and all this and all of that. But Pam Bundy, them, last week called and basically told, Congress or whatever, they found over 1 million more files.
1 million more Epstein-related files. And so the Justice Department released this information on Wednesday, and this was potentially found by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York and the FBI, and they are currently reviewing them for release. And so, of course, we've been following this as the DOJ has since released thousands of new documents from the Epstein files, yet earlier this week on Tuesday as well. And so to talk a little bit more about what we're seeing here with this potential new batch of files that the DOJ is going to be investigating, I want to bring into the conversation legal analyst Nima Rahmani. Nima, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thanks for having me, Christina.
And so, Nima, I have to first ask you here, when it comes to the Epstein files and the DOJ now saying they potentially have 1 million more files that need to be released, does this surprise you at any point? What does this all mean now that they've said this?
How do you lose 1 million files and then all of a sudden, oops, I found them?
Christina, I wish I could say I'm surprised, but this is another continued embarrassment for the Department of Justice. We are now 1 week removed from the December 19th deadline for the DOJ to produce the Epstein files, and obviously they have not met that deadline, at least in full. Now they're saying there's another 1 million documents that have yet to be reviewed. Let's not forget that Attorney General Pam Bondi earlier this year said that the Epstein files were sitting on her desk just waiting review. She promised to make them public well before the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Well, it seems like she didn't even have a full sense of the Epstein files because I doubt she had 1 million documents sitting on her desk. And we're talking about the Southern District of New York. These are the career prosecutors who prosecuted Epstein the second time in 2019.
How do you lose 1 million documents?
So of course they would have more documents. It's really shocking how disorganized and frankly late the DOJ has been, and they continue to, whether it's in terms of the redactions or delays or withholding documents outright, fail to follow the law. So it's very disappointing that those that are tasked to enforce the law can't even follow the law. I hope they can get their act together soon in the coming weeks.
And Nima, as we're talking about, I want to put up that statement that the Justice Department actually put out on their own X account talking about this, saying the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York and the FBI have informed the Department of Justice that they have uncovered over 1 million more documents potentially related to the Jeffrey Epstein case.
Uncovered over 1 million more, like they just lost. You don't lose 1 million documents. Come on now.
The DOJ has received these documents from the Southern District of New York and the FBI to review them for release in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, existing statutes, and judicial orders. We have lawyers who are working around the clock to review and make the legally required redactions to protect those victims, and we will release the documents as soon as possible. Due to the mass volume of material, this process may take a few more weeks. The department will continue to fully comply with federal law and President Trump's direction to release the files. Nima, I have to ask you.
You don't just lose no million files.
You mentioned it. It was that deadline 1 week ago that the Epstein files were supposed to be released underneath the Epstein Transparency Act that President Trump signed. Is it not interesting that this comes about after that they say they found these 1 million more documents? Will we be able to know any true timeline of when they were discovered, or is it likely that this information is going to stay behind doors there with the Justice Department?
I don't think we'll know. And for folks that don't understand, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, it is part of the Department of Justice. Those are Department of Justice prosecutors. And if you're looking at where the Epstein files exist, you'd look to New York, you'd look to Miami. Those are the U.S. Attorney's Office that prosecuted Epstein. So the fact that you now have 1 million documents that had previously been unaccounted for, it leads me to believe that this search was not done in a timely manner, and those that conducted the search really did not do their job, because this should have been done weeks ago. Now you're stuck in a situation where the DOJ is further embarrassed. Some people will believe it's a cover-up. All of this delay, it just adds fuel to the fire. To those that are watching and who are on social media, believe that this is all a cover-up to protect.
I believe they need to just drop the files. A lot of people feel like, that this whole Epstein thing is a cover-up. Like, man, why is they taking so long? Why is, they not putting them out there? First they say Trump ain't in the files. Then all of a sudden, Trump in the files. And you got other people in the file, Michael Jackson and all type of people just, what is going on?
Billionaires and politicians. So now you have this embarrassing situation where career prosecutors at the DOJ are being asked to work over the holidays to try to do these redactions and review these documents that frankly should have been done weeks ago, maybe even months ago, when the Department of Justice, Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, they promised to make the Epstein files public well before the Epstein Files Transparency Act. So this should have already been done. Now you have further delays, you have more documents, you have redactions, pages, hundreds of pages that are redacted entirely. One other important deadline that we really should be talking about, Christina, is going to be in early January. That is when the DOJ is supposed to provide a log of any documents that are withheld or redacted. That will allow House Democrats to potentially challenge those redactions by filing a lawsuit in court, and a judge may have to sort through this to say, hey, are these redactions all warranted? Because if you look at the Epstein Files Transparency Act, there are only three categories of documents that can be redacted or withheld. Those are documents identifying victims of sex abuse, any documents showing sex abuse, that would essentially be child pornography, and anything related to an ongoing investigation. And we know that the DOJ issued a memo this summer in July saying there's no legal basis to charge any third parties related to the Epstein files. So I hope the DOJ isn't withholding documents on that basis, although Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche did say the DOJ was going to assert privilege last weekend. That would be very disappointing if true.
And Nima, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was my next question. Where do we go from here with the files that have been released? Those heavy redactions have been a conversation not only on social media, but also happening in other forums as well. Many journalists have been critical of this as well. But when it comes to that, and you said there's a date that's going to be happening in January, they can kind of challenge that. I was wondering if we were going to have to wait if there was going to be another administration to go back through, or some of these things sort of, is there another path, I should say, say, to figure out what's in some of the files that haven't been released?
There is a path, and that would be to file a lawsuit to compel the full production. And then what would happen is a federal judge, a district judge, would have to sort through these redactions himself or herself, or appoint a special master to do so. That's how you challenge redactions, because obviously we don't know what we don't know. But a judge can review the files in camera, that's a Latin term, that means outside the presence of the parties and the public, to determine whether these redactions are warranted. I could tell you, Christina, I think they are excessive, and this is why. There's at least two categories of information that I've seen that appear to be redacted that shouldn't be redacted. The first is grand jury materials, and the judges that have considered this issue have ruled that the Epstein Files Transparency Act trumps, no pun intended, any secrecy that grand jury materials typically have under the rules of criminal procedure. Those materials should not be redacted. The other thing I see is the names of assistant U.S. attorneys, federal prosecutors, those names are being...
This is crazy, man. This is crazy.
Redacted. Again, there's not a legal basis to do so unless they are a victim of sex abuse, which is highly unlikely. Again, these redactions seem excessive. They seem outside of those three categories that I've talked about: victims, child pornography, and ongoing investigations, which I don't think there are any. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point a lawsuit is filed and a judge reviews these redactions and determines that they are excessive and unwarranted.
And Nima, speaking of some of those redactions and lawsuits that could potentially be filed, we do know that the Democratic rep, Ro Khanna of California, says that he and the Republican rep, Thomas Massie of Kentucky, are going to be bringing...
What do you think about that, them sending her to another prison? You know, after Trump and them went in there and talked to her, and she came out saying, you know, basically Trump didn't have nothing to do with nothing.
Just of inherent contempt of Congress against Attorney General Pam Bondi. The two congressmen made that, of course, they were the one who sponsored the bill on the Epstein files. And they were also talking about potentially making this a larger thing against Attorney General Bondi. I have to ask you, what does that ultimately mean? And charges of inherent contempt of Congress, what potentially does that going to do for Attorney General Pam Bondi?
Roe's one of the best. I know him personally. He's a lawyer as well. And that's certainly one route that he can go to. That's the political route. I think the challenge with contempt of Congress is typically those contempt orders, they are enforced by the Department of Justice. So there's not a whole lot that's going to happen. Obviously, it'll be a big deal politically. Folks are talking about potential articles of impeachment against Bondi. And we'll see if that happens Bondi as well. Out of there. I really do think, though, Christina, the better route, the more effective route would be a lawsuit, because then you have the judiciary. And when you're talking about the judiciary, Article 3, their job really, in many ways, is to deal with disputes between the legislature, Article 1, and the executive, Article 2. That's what we're dealing with here. The important thing about involving a judge is the judge can also rule on these redactions, determine whether they are legal and appropriate or not. That's not something that can happen through contempt or impeachment proceedings. If this is an issue of public trust and transparency, the American people, members of the media, we deserve the full Epstein files. That was what was promised to us by Donald Trump when he was candidate, when Attorney General Bondi was appointed, same with the director of the FBI. Those promises have not been fulfilled. So this is an issue of public trust. This is an issue of transparency. And I believe that a judge needs to get involved to compel the Department of Justice to do their job and follow the law. I think that type of order will be more effective than a contempt of Congress order, in my humble opinion.
It is something that we're going to continue to watch, and we've been putting up some of that reaction as well from the two congressmen. And Thomas Massie says that today the DOJ claims the Epstein-Maxwell file exceeds 1.7 million documents, and they still expect you to believe that this only involves two guilty people. I'm glad that he ended up and he brought up Maxwell in all of this, because Ghislaine Maxwell, she is a longtime friend. She was a colleague and an ex-girlfriend of Epstein. And we do know that she's currently behind bars for her relation and what she had done as a part of the Epstein whole situation. But I have to ask you, with Ghislaine, there's been a lot of nude attention to her as these files are being released. Do you think that as the files are released that more charges could potentially be brought against her?
I think it's unlikely because she's already doing 20 years in federal prison for sex trafficking now. Obviously, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche did interview her personally. She was moved to a lower security prison. Now the question is, was that a favor to her? Was that something that was just done by the Department of the Bureau of Prisons and had nothing to do with her interview with the Deputy Attorney General or the fact that she has continued to assert her innocence and say that there was no sex trafficking at all? She certainly hasn't named names. That's really the surprising thing to me about Ghislaine Maxwell, Christina. I could tell you that having put more than 1,000 people in federal prison.
The only thing that make people super curious about what's going on with these files is the fact that they won't release them.
I can only count on 2 fingers the number of individuals I was unable to flip to cooperate. So the fact that Maxwell's likely going to die in federal prison and hasn't named names is certainly surprising. That's someone I would want to lean on to identify the other rich and powerful men that abused young girls with Jeffrey Epstein. I think that's what people want to know. So is she getting a free pass? Or is she someone who's just being unreasonable? Because I can tell you, I don't believe for a second that she's actually innocent and she had no idea what was going on and she wasn't recruiting and grooming these young girls for Jeffrey Epstein.
And so those Epstein files will continue to come out according to the Department of Justice. But they did make that claim that there are over 1 million more potentially related to Epstein that have not yet been gone through. Nima, any final thoughts before I let you go? This, of course, is a story that continues to unfold layer by layer.
I think it's important that members of the public, the media, Representatives Khanna and Massey continue to put pressure on the Department of Justice to do what they promised and to follow the law. This is really a rare moment of bipartisanship in Washington, D.C. right now, where Republicans and Democrats all agree that the Epstein files should be made public, that those who abused young girls should be held accountable. It's sad that Epstein got that sweetheart deal by Alex Acosta when he was U.S. Attorney in Miami. He never really faced the criminal justice that he deserved, or certainly to the extent that anyone else would have received. And this is just part and parcel of the belief that many people have that the rich and powerful in this country get a free pass. So hopefully everyone who abused young girls with Jeffrey Epstein is brought to justice. And I really commend Congress for not giving up.
Can we take time to double tap that screen, guys? If you have not, that's how you hit the like button, or you could click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, man. If you don't mind, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, this is everything we know about the 1 million new documents released by the DOJ in the Epstein situation.
Enforcing this issue.
All right, well, we certainly appreciate Nima Rahmani here for the very latest as the DOJ.
All right, so that was pretty much everything on what they saying about the Epstein files right now and those 1 million new documents that were uncovered by the DOJ. Okay, now we got to move along to Tyler Perry, guys. Y'all know actor Tyler Perry, Madea. You know, we remember that he basically got himself into a little trouble, you know, with one of the actors from one of his movies, guys, you know, who basically came out and spoke on him. You know, y'all remember this one.
Hey everyone, now to our ABC News exclusive. Tyler Perry accuser Derek Dixon sits down in a TV interview for the first time, sharing allegations of workplace sexual assault and harassment. In June, he filed a $260 million lawsuit against the media mogul. These are claims that Tyler Perry denies. But Dixon says he's speaking out now to try to stop a billionaire who won't stop themselves. What made you decide to come forward with your story?
I wanted to speak out and not stay silent about it anymore.
So, this was one of the guys that was suing Tyler Perry for like $250 million, $1,000, something like that. You know,
Actor Derek Dixon.
This is the first accuser.
Sitting down for his first television interview since filing a $260 million lawsuit against media mogul Tyler Perry, detailing the alleged sexual harassment and assaults he says he endured.
That's when you push me up against the wall and grab my ass again.
Dixon starred as Dale in Tyler Perry's BET series, The Oval.
Why are you yelling?
I'm in this too, remember?
You're not in it. Did you get shot at?
No, I actually got shot.
He appeared in 85 episodes between 2021 and 2025.
Tell us about the first time you ever met Tyler Perry.
Yeah, I met him at his studio opening party in 2019. I was working for an events company.
What's up, Chris?
And we met, and he said to me, are you an actor? And I said, well, not right now. I'm working on it, but not right now. And he
I
said,
remember I brought y'all this story before, when it was still being when it was circulating on Instagram.
yeah, you are.
This
we need to
particular
talk.
one right here.
You should get my number, and we'll talk about this.
Did any of your initial interactions give you pause?
Can we take time to get those likes up to 100 if you don't mind? Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Tyler Perry, back in trouble again.
A few of them were did give me pause, but they weren't bad enough to think like this was a dangerous situation in the beginning. Yeah.
According to your lawsuit, at one point early on, he bought you a car.
Yeah, he'd seen my Jeep around the studio that I was driving, and he said, that's not a great car.
Tyler Perry is an actor, producer, director, playwright, and prominent name in the entertainment space. He launched his career in the 1990s.
You want this half? You want this half?
His 2005 breakthrough film, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, debuted at #1 in the box office and was a massive success. To date, he's created 24 feature films, 20 stage plays, 17 television
Get successful and then mess it all up, man. That's crazy, man. We need 40 more on that like. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up, guys.
shows, and 2 New York Times best-selling books. In 2021, his prolific career earned him a spot in the exclusive Billionaires Club. His media empire includes his own production company, Tyler Perry Studios, based in Atlanta, one of the largest film studios in the country.
I'm not trying to do anything other than meet somebody at their humanity.
As his career has flourished, he's also made a name for himself in the philanthropic space.
So in early 2020, you land the role of Dale on The Oval. Was that a dream job?
It was, yeah. It was. To be a series regular on a show was something I always dreamed about.
The complaint includes multiple screenshots of text messages allegedly between Dixon and Perry.
Picture where he's on the jet.
Nice picture. Yeah, the water does look calm. Nice picture. Great, amazing, awesome picture. You don't see the stud in that nice picture? Rude. LOL. Yes, that's the stud. Oh my goodness. That's the Tyler Perry, guys. That's the text messages right there.
Ski. Well, I said, nice picture. And he said, yeah, the water looks calm. And he said, nice picture. You don't see that stud in that picture? Rude. And I said, LOL. Yes, that's a stud. And all these texts, I tried to de-escalate them and make a joke out of them.
Some of the messages more sexual in nature.
One of them says,
oh my goodness, guys. I would hope that you would let someone hold you and make love to you. Oh my goodness. You are missing the best years of your life, my friend. Trust me. I hope you get past the block in your mind soon. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. What is going to take for you to have guilty ex have found that yet in therapy? Oh my goodness, Tyler Perry. Oh man.
What's it going to take for you to have guiltless sex? Have y'all found that in therapy yet? I would hope that you would let someone hold you and make love to you.
Now, the complaint also alleges that in January of 2020, there was an escalation from the text messages to Tyler Perry's behavior becoming physical. Mm-hmm. Can you explain that first alleged incident?
Yes. We were over his house. We're having some drinks in his guest house, and it was late at night, and
Perry finna get him.
He has a guest quarters and said that you can sleep there instead of, not driving, and his house is far from Atlanta and where I was living. And I got into bed, and then I noticed that he climbed into bed with me as well and started rubbing my leg. And I jumped up out of bed, and he has said, turn around so I can look at you, and just comment on how I looked. And then he got up and left. So I thought after that instance, was pretty clear that I was not interested in that
Niggas
type
say
of
this one lying,
relationship.
okay?
It was very, very strange. I mean, I think it's okay that people try to make a move or shoot their shot, but if they get rejected, I think that they should stop. And so I thought it would stop after that, and it didn't.
At the end of the second season, Dale gets shot in the chest 4 times. Why was that especially concerning for you?
What it meant to me was if I don't make him happy, I could stay dead on the show.
And the complaint specifically says, and I just want to quote it, Mr. Perry.
Say if he don't make Tyler Perry happy, basically he could be unalive in there, forever, never get another paycheck. I wonder what happened.
Made it clear to Mr. Dixon that he would kill off Mr. Dixon's character if he did not indulge Mr. Perry's sexual harassment. Was that message clear to you?
For me, that was his way of showing his power over us and our careers, and that he doesn't have a problem with just killing one of us off.
You're also a screenwriter and had written a TV series called Losing It. Tell us about that.
He ended up wanting to read it, and I at first was like too embarrassed to even send to him, but he did, and he said he loved it and wanted to shoot the pilot for it.
All right, let's go to June of 2021, another alleged incident that you outline in your lawsuit where you're again at Tyler Perry's home in Atlanta, and it ends up with you locking yourself in a bathroom.
Mm-hmm. We started out having drinks in the living room like we, have done before, and it got to a point in the night where, we were both kind of feeling drunk, and I remember we were walking back to the guest area where I've stayed before, and there was this health monitor scale on the way. And I was like, what is that? And he said, well, you have to be in your underwear to measure, whatever. So you should.
I see you down there say he
lying. He reached
lying.
down and pulled my underwear down and grabbed my.
How many of y'all think he lying? How many of y'all think he telling the truth, man? Remember to double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up. This is one of the Tyler Perry accusers. Another one done came out now.
My ass, and I, tried to stop him and pull back my underwear up, and he kind of grabbed my arms and said, no, it's okay. Just go with it. And I said, stop, I don't want to be naked, I don't want this. And he was just like, no, I'm not going to hurt you, and just continued. And in that moment, unless someone's been through something.
You got to know when to tell Tyler Perry no.
Where they have their control over their bodies taken away, you don't really understand the kind of feelings that you get in that moment. It was almost like every thought came through my head: to run, to fight, to freeze. I didn't know what to do.
He says he de-escalated and distracted Perry and eventually locked himself alone in the guest house bathroom.
The day after that, he called several times and ended up getting
Dang, Tyler made him feel scared, y'all. He locked himself in the bathroom, man. Yeah, I would have got up. Me and Tyler would have been fighting. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he'd have had a broke nose. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He had him terrified when he locked himself in the bathroom. Good Lord.
Of what was going on the other side. So I picked up, and that's when he said, he was sorry for what happened. He doesn't know why he did that, and that maybe he was self-sabotaging or something. And in the same call, he said, and don't worry, we're going to do your show.
In the lawsuit, you describe this as a calculated pursuit of you by Tyler Perry. There are also several times where he says to you, you have to make your no stronger. Mm-hmm. How did you respond to this, as it's described, calculate?
He said, Tyler told you got to make your nose stronger. You got to say it with your chest. You can't just say it. You got to be like, no.
Pursuit of you by Tyler Perry.
To me, that's just so insulting. And I reiterated, I said stop. I said it. I don't think that people ever get past something like that happening to them.
Dixon tells us he last spoke to Perry in the spring of 2024 and left the show in September of that year. What ultimately became of your pilot, Losing It?
Yeah, it hasn't gone anywhere. He still owns the rights to it. So I can't now go and sell it.
Then in January, the actor filed a complaint with the EEOC, the federal agency responsible for protecting workers from discrimination. In your response to your EEOC complaint, Tyler's representative said, among other things, Mr. Dixon's initial letter to TPS Tyler Perry Studios about its matter demanded $42.5 million to buy his silence. They described your actions as extortion. Were you looking for money to buy your silence?
No, I think I was looking for accountability on to what he did. I think what he did was wrong, and it needed to be something that would deter him from doing this to somebody else, another actor, or in the future.
What kind of a toll would you say that this has all taken on you?
I was extremely anxious. The calls got to a point where the calls and texts were almost every day. Just this constant state of like, if I don't answer, I will lose my job. I'll be fired or killed off the show. It took a huge toll on my anxiety and depression.
You're asking in your lawsuit for damages totaling $260 million. How did you arrive at that number?
Part of that number is my lost job, my lost income, the loss of the show. The other part of that is...
So if you're wondering what we're watching, this is one of Tyler Perry's accusers, guys, giving an interview on what he suffered, as he alleges, at the hands of Tyler Perry, guys. So if you're just not getting here, that's what we're paying attention to. Make sure you guys are double tapping that screen. That's how you hit the like button. If you're on the mobile device, click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. I wouldn't keep on saying it if it didn't help out the channel. Help out the channel by hitting the like button. All you got to do is double tap the screen or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, man. Subscribe to the channel if you're new.
A deterrent for, how do you stop a billionaire who won't stop themselves from doing this?
How difficult has it been to tell your truth?
It's been hard. It's been hard. It's a vulnerable thing to talk about, I think, for anybody. There's a lot of shame, I think, around it. Just trying to think what you could have done better and having to deal with the judgment of what, everyone might think of how you could have handled it better without being in that situation.
Perry has not yet responded in court filings. In a statement to ABC News, his lawyer called Dixon a, quote, individual who got close to Tyler Perry for what now appears to be nothing more than setting up a scam, and that Tyler will not be shaken down, and we are confident.
Tyler Perry say this is a scam. They try to run a play on him.
These fabricated claims of harassment will fail. If you were to talk to Tyler Perry right now, what would you say?
I would say, I hope that you take accountability for what happened, and I hope that this has taught you not to...
Say, man, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Y'all remember the part just a second ago where he said he was laying in the bed and Tyler Perry came and jumped in the bed with him? Yeah, me and Tyler would have been all over that room. I'd have been whoop, 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 punching him in the nose, eye, head, everything, man. I don't know what's wrong with you in the bed with me. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, that was red flag number 1. He tried to get in the bed with you while you laying down. What is we doing? Talking about he told him no. Man, I'd have been swinging.
Your employees this way, and to never use someone's dream to coerce them into a relationship that's not professional.
What would justice look like for you?
Justice would look like thinking that I've made a change and that something like this won't happen to another actor that works for him or another actor in the industry. That would be justice for me.
Our thanks to Derek Dixon for the conversation.
All right, so I see we mixed down there. Now they say, I seen somebody down there saying, hey man, just stop lying. And a lot of y'all didn't believe, his story. Guess what? Tyler Perry, he pushed back against that. You know what I'm saying? It was like, man, absolutely not. Check this out.
Claims in a big way and has made a number of arguments for why this whole case, this whole lawsuit should be thrown out. Time to break it down with an attorney who has handled numerous celebrity legal cases. Bradford Cohen.
We got to get the likes over 100, guys. Double tap that screen or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. Now, this is the guy that we just seen, giving that interview that basically was suing him for $260 million. Tyler Perry said, not so fast. Remember, this is one accuser. It's another one to come.
Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, we have quite the response from Tyler Perry that we need to talk about. This is in response to a lawsuit that was filed against him by actor Derek Dixon, who accused Perry of essentially quid pro quo sexual harassment, this $260 million lawsuit. Now, the lawsuit that was filed out in California reads, this case arises from a sustained pattern of workplace sexual harassment, assault, and retaliation perpetrated by Tyler Perry, a powerful media mogul, against plaintiff Derek Dixon, a professional actor and screenwriter. Mr. Perry is an American actor, filmmaker, and playwright who has built one of the most successful careers in the film and television industry. Mr. Perry took his success and power and used his considerable influence in the entertainment industry to create a coercive, sexually exploitative dynamic with Mr. Dixon, initially promising him career advancement and creative opportunities, such as producing his pilot and casting him in his show, only to subject him to escalating sexual harassment, assault and battery, and professional retaliation when Mr. Dixon did not reciprocate Mr. Perry's unwanted advances. These events occurred while Mr. Dixon was employed as a series regular on the Tyler Perry show The Oval, and while Mr. Perry held
Tyler, Lord have mercy, man. People in Hollywood are sick.
Direct control over his employment, compensation, and creative opportunities. Now, according to Dixon, he tried to essentially brush off Perry's advances and these flirty text messages, even alleged groping, but claims that Perry would threaten to kill off his character on the show. Now, Perry, this is what we're going to be talking about, has responded in court documents, saying that this suit is profoundly disappointing, cynical, that it is a lawsuit relying on, quote, Hollywood stereotypes and the bad acts of others. Quote, Dixon invents alleged assaults and encounters that never happened. His filings go on to say, quote, Mr. Perry never assaulted Dixon or committed any sexual battery. He did not offer
Dixon. Say $260 million, they ain't even married. I'm just saying, my guy.
And pay raises and shoot Dixon's television pilot script to threaten, coerce, or control Dixon. And it is notable that in his effort to exploit his friendship and professional relationship with Mr. Perry to obtain a $260 million payday, Dixon was forced to lie not only about Mr. Perry, but himself too. That the suit is about, quote, Dixon's greed and
I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, he might be faking and shaking right there. Yeah, I don't know, man. Looks can be deceiving, but I don't know. He might have encouraged Tyler.
Not Mr. Perry's alleged and non-existent harassment or abuse. Goes on to say, by his actions and false accusations, it is clear that Dixon needs help, but he cannot find it in this court. And the filing goes on to state that Perry, quote, looks forward to refuting each and every false accusation in court. Pretty strong words. And by the way, I haven't even gotten into Perry's argument for why this case should be completely thrown out, which may work. I don't know. We'll discuss. Plus, we have more words, a response from Dixon's side. So let me bring in somebody who knows a thing or two about high-profile celebrity cases. Defense attorney to the stars, Bradford Cohen, is once again with us. Bradford, so good to see you. You're taking some time away, not only from your busy law practice, but your social media presence. You're blowing up on social media every 5 seconds, but thank you. You just heard me lay out some of the responses from Tyler Perry's side, completely denying these accusations. Just your thoughts on that. Let's start there.
Well, I think that's the only way to do it. I mean, what else are you going to say is that it didn't happen. This is exaggerated. This is kind of a Harvey Weinstein-esque, accusation that this is what Hollywood's about, but I didn't do it. It didn't happen like this. I was just a mentor. I was trying to help this guy along, and this is very cynical of him to file the lawsuit. I mean, that's the only response that you can really make in this type of case, is to say it just didn't happen. It's going to come down to the evidence. It's going to come down to, the texts and what we call the receipts. So we're going to have to see where this case goes. But the denial in itself really doesn't mean much. I mean, I would expect a denial.
Obviously, this is a story that we wanted to bring to you, and we can do that not only because of the amazing support.
That's crazy. It's crazy, ain't it, y'all? Who would ever thought Tyler Perry? You know what I'm saying? On some other stuff. He on some other stuff. Dang.
And it raises an issue that we see in these kinds of cases, because this is interesting, because Perry seems to say that Dixon's allegations don't line up with his actions. What do I mean by that? In a motion to dismiss the claims, this motion to dismiss that was filed by Tyler Perry and his company.
Tyler Perry say, man, we finna get these charges thrown out.
It says, quote, defendants deny Dixon's allegations. The complaint distorts reality and mischaracterizes a platonic friendship that, as it turns out, Dixon ultimately cultivated for personal financial gain. So, for example, quote, in January 2020, Dixon attended a party at Mr. Perry's Georgia residence and spent the night in a guest bedroom. Dixon claims Mr. Perry tried to get into bed with him. Despite this, Dixon voluntarily came to Mr. Perry's home in Georgia 2 months later. In August 2020, during the COVID pandemic, cast members quarantined and temporarily resided at the Tyler Perry Studios campus in Georgia so they could film. Dixon claims that Mr. Perry dropped off alcohol at his house and coerced him to imbibe during phone conversations with Mr. Perry. Dixon claims that later he went to Mr. Perry's trailer for drinks and that Mr. Perry made sexual advances and tried to grope plaintiff's buttocks.
Oh, wow.
About a month later, Dixon voluntarily...
Which is the story we heard him tell, but now they say he voluntarily accompanied Mr. Perry. Voluntarily is a big word.
Accompanied Mr. Perry and other cast members on a trip to the Bahamas, where he claims Mr. Perry made sexual advances towards him and allegedly tried to grope him. Now, Bradford, it seems to be that they're saying two things can't be true at once. This is a common thing we've seen, right? You're claiming someone sexually assaulted you or harassed you, and yet you maintain company with them. You continue to...
y'all still think he lying, or is this a setup? You know what I'm saying? Y'all think he lying, you know, or trying to set Tyler Perry up, or is Tyler Perry trying to cover his tracks? Let me know.
Have contact with them. But that's not necessarily negating that an assault or harassment could have occurred.
Say absolutely lying.
So there's a couple things going on. Number one is this isn't really for a motion to dismiss. The lawyers put all this in to get it out in the press, right? So they don't have to make a statement. The press will pick up this motion to dismiss and say, wait a minute, look at all these things that he did, and this is how it should go, and this is what he did. You know, oh, he sexually came on to him January 1st, and then January 10th, he's out at dinner with him. So this is a common theme.
A lot of y'all saying this guy's absolutely lying.
It's not really a motion to dismiss in terms of like, oh yeah, this is going to work for a motion to dismiss. It's a common theme. It didn't work out for Harvey Weinstein. And in Harvey Weinstein's case, it was females and a male. And they were saying, hey, listen, she emailed me, a week after she said that I sexually harassed her or that I sexually assaulted her. She emailed me saying, hey, I heard there's a part coming up and I'd love to try out for that part. So it's not unusual. What's unusual here is how society is going to look at this, where it's two men as opposed to a woman and a man. Are they going to say that this man should have done something different than a woman in his position, which in the Harvey Weinstein case, the women in those positions didn't do anything different. They never said, Harvey, you're a pig. Harvey, I don't care what you're going to do to my career. I'm not going into your bedroom, or, I'm not going to go see you at 3 o'clock in the morning to read a line for a movie. It's going to be interesting how the press kind of addresses this, because it's a guy and a guy as opposed to a girl and a guy, because we look at, women differently, that they're susceptible to this type of thing in terms of the Harvey Weinstein case. So are we going to look at it the same way where a guy should have done something different? That's what's going to be so interesting in this case.
The power dynamic is similar, right? If you're talking about this actor versus this megastar, mega producer, content creator, studio executive, right? Tyler Perry, the power dynamic might be the same. And look, you're right. It's not a part of a motion to dismiss per se that a court's going to say, oh, because you made this argument, we're going to throw it out. But it does give us a preview of what may be argued at a trial, particularly if Dixon takes the stand. But here's what's interesting. This is the response, and we're going to get a little bit more into the legal ramifications, the legal argument in the motion to dismiss. But just staying on this point about whether we can believe Derek Dixon's claims. His attorney, Jonathan J. Delshad, issued a statement to People magazine in response to Perry's claims. This was on Monday, October 13th, saying, quote, Perry's filing provides no evidence to corroborate that the text messages in our complaint are fabricated. Our complaint includes text messages where Mr. Perry made explicit sexual remarks to Mr. Dixon, questioned him about his sex life, and dangled professional opportunities based on those interactions. No employer has the right to manipulate or threaten an employee's livelihood based on sexual expectations. We are certain that we will be able to prove to a jury that sexual harassment, assault, and battery absolutely happened. I am convinced that Mr. Dixon is not the only one, and that soon others will be sharing stories about Mr. Perry. My client is not intimidated by wealth, influence, or the celebrity status of Mr. Perry. Nobody is above the law. We are committed to holding Mr. Perry accountable to the full extent of the law. And that is an interesting point, right? Because if you look at the text messages that were part of Dixon's lawsuit, there is one, I'll give everybody an idea. There's one allegedly from Perry that says, quote, no straight man would be going on walks with you or cooking dinner for you unless they wanted to bleep you. I would bleep you. Bradford, if those are the messages that are going to be presented, is this an open and shut case against Tyler Perry? Is there nothing more to deny?
Odds that are associated with it, but I've gone to trial on cases that I thought were complete losers, and I end up winning, and winning big. So it just depends on the case. These texts, I think, if they are allowed into evidence, which I think they will be, I think they're admissions. I don't see any kind of hearsay or any kind of way to keep them out. And if they do come in and they can establish they came from Tyler Perry, I think it's going to be a very difficult case just in terms of the sexual harassment on the text. If I work at IBM, if I work at Google, if I work at AOL, I'm showing my age, I guess, at AOL, but if I work at any of these places and
Yeah, I don't know what the heck going on, man. I'm hearing the random stuff in the background, but it's in the video. I'm like, man, where is this coming from?
direct supervisor is sending me
y'all hear it?
Texts like this, it would be, this would be.
You hear, but it's that my audio so ain't got nothing to do with what's playing.
Settled in about a second. Right. So I think that it's very dangerous for Mr. Perry. Listen, and I always say there's two ways to go about these cases, and we've
talked. Hey, y'all, it was tripping me out. I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from, clicking on a lot of stuff like, man, what is this? But it's in the actual video. What in the world?
Talked about this before in the past, right? There's either the first way is you settle these cases for economic damages. You think in your head, what is this going to cost me in the long run in terms of my reputation, in terms of my economic ability to earn money? All these different things come into a settlement before a lawsuit is filed. Then there's the second wave of that is this is total BS. I'm going to fight it. And like my sign says, one war, one Cohen. You go to war and you don't give up and you don't, settle the next day. You take depositions. You find out background on this guy. Has he filed lawsuits like this before? What is his proclivity in terms of his personal life? All of these different things that you go after. And you saw Jay-Z do this very successfully when he was sued by Tony Busby. And Tony Busby is still being sued by Jay-Z, and he will be being sued for the next probably 5 years by Jay-Z, because that is the only two ways to go about this case. This right now, where they are right now, I think is very dangerous with these texts coming out, because these are not good for the reputation of Mr. Perry. And I don't doubt there will be other individuals that will start coming forward when kind of the dam breaks.
A lot of interesting points that you mentioned, aside from the fact AOL and maybe your dial-up connection that you still have. But no, put that to the side. Settlement, okay? Let me. That's a good point, okay? Because I want to get into the main argument from Tyler Perry about why this case should be thrown out in the motion to dismiss. But this was the very beginning of it, okay? It says, quote, on September 23rd, 24th, and 25th, 2025, defendants' counsel contacted plaintiffs' counsel in a good faith attempt to resolve the issues raised in this motion. The parties were unable to resolve the dispute, thus necessitating the filing of this motion. So Bradford, what does that tell you? They couldn't come to a meeting of the minds? They couldn't settle this?
Yeah, I think that there was probably consideration to settle it. And generally, when they say words like this, the numbers were off, right? So the guy might want, $25 million. He might have been offered 500,000. So the numbers weren't right. I think that's what that is alleging. But to put that in a motion generally is not acceptable. You can actually move to strike those things because settlement negotiations in themselves are not supposed to be part of any kind of motion you file unless you are enforcing that settlement. So if there was a settlement, now you're enforcing it, yes, you bring in the terms of the settlement. But to say, hey, we reached out, we tried to settle this, we had a discussion, that's like theater, and the courts usually don't allow that.
Is there any point of law where you have to tell that to the court before you can bring in a motion to dismiss? You like, hey, we've had good faith attempts to try to resolve this, but we can't get there?
Only in terms of the motion to dismiss itself, not settlement negotiations. And generally, it doesn't give that kind of detail, right? Usually it says, hey, the two parties conferred on this motion and we couldn't come to an agreement. That's it. You don't say like, hey, I reached out the 23rd, 24th, 25th, try to resolve this case, not just this motion. And we couldn't resolve the case. We couldn't come to a settlement agreement. So yes, you do have to, in most jurisdictions, you have to put in the motion that you had a good faith conferral that you tried to reach an agreement on that motion. So if it's a motion to dismiss, a summary judgment, a motion to compel, I reached out to the other side. They didn't agree to this motion to compel. That's why we're before the court.
Now, I want to get into this motion to dismiss and see, does he have a legitimate argument to throw this entire case out? And I want to go through piece by piece, going to get a little granular, but it's very important to get granular here with the specific arguments. Basically, what we're talking about is Tyler Perry and his companies, because they're named as defendants too, they make a jurisdiction argument. They basically say, Mr. Dixon, this case should be thrown out because you filed it in the wrong place. You shouldn't have filed this case in California.
Not get it thrown out because I didn't do it. It should be thrown out because you filed it at the wrong court. Oh, my goodness, y'all. Oh, my goodness.
So this is what it says, quote, Dixon's theatrically pled complaint seems like something that belongs in Hollywood, but there's no legal basis under which a California court could exercise personal jurisdiction over the defendants. All defendants are Georgia citizens and do not transact business in California, much less any business that relates to this lawsuit. Plaintiff performed work for defendants only in Georgia. All of the alleged incidents giving rise to Dixon's claims purportedly took place outside of California, and all contracts between the parties contain Georgia choice of law and forum selection clauses. Dixon is forum shopping. The only yet irrelevant connection between this dispute in California is that Dixon moved there in 2023, over a year after the last incident of alleged assault. Dixon cannot come close to meeting his burden of proving personal jurisdiction exists over any defendant. Because this case involves inexcusable forum shopping, the court should dismiss it. Alternatively, the case should be transferred to the appropriate forum, the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Georgia. And I'm going to get into that. But Bradford, as we get more into the specifics of this argument, how often would a case be thrown out on jurisdictional grounds? And by the way, would an attorney who files a lawsuit know that when they say, look, we can't file in California, there's no basis here. So how often would that actually happen?
Right. There's a couple things going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've gotten cases dismissed on jurisdictional issues, venue issues. If there's a contract that provides for venue or jurisdiction, sometimes that happens. Also, if it's removed to federal court because of the parties are in two different jurisdictions, sometimes it'll be removed to federal court from a state court, that I will actually ask the court to remove it because I think that it would be more favorable in a federal court and that it would be more appropriate. So they have a good argument.
Tyler Perry joins Diddy, you know what I'm saying, in so many words. This is crazy.
What you have to look at is, does Tyler Perry own any property in California? Does he have any ties to California? His company, do they have any ties to California? I would imagine his company does. I don't know if Tyler Perry himself still owns any property in California or still has any jurisdiction in California whatsoever. So it's a decent argument. It's not put your feather in your cap and this case is going to go away. Obviously, they want to bring it in Georgia because Tyler Perry probably will find a jury in Georgia more favorable than a jury in Hollywood, California, where, people are used to seeing kind of famous people sue each other and they don't really care about it, as opposed to Georgia. When you have a Georgia jury sitting there and you're seeing Tyler Perry there, you might be taken aback for a moment and be like, hey, it's Tyler Perry. He's kind of famous. This is crazy. So it is a good, I think it's a good strategic move. Whether or not the court grants it, it would be dependent on the contracts, obviously, that he signed. But don't forget, this is outside of those contracts. He's not suing for a breach of contract. He's suing because it is a sexual harassment case. So then you have to look at the ties to California, why they filed this lawsuit in California. And it really doesn't seem like it's jury, it's forum shopping to me. But I think that a California court would be more appropriate for this type of case for the plaintiff than Georgia would. He'll find it more favorable in California. That's my guess.
I appreciate making that point. I think it's an important point to make about why Georgia could be favorable. I'm so happy to have you because I want to go through Tyler Perry's arguments a little bit more specifically. You tell me what you think of them, okay? So the first argument for why the claims should be dismissed is because the court lacks personal jurisdiction over the defendants. And for everybody out there, you can exercise jurisdiction over a defendant who doesn't reside in the state if they have what is known in the law as, quote, minimum contacts with the state. And in the law, to exercise personal jurisdiction over a defendant, there is general and there is specific jurisdiction. I feel like back in law school. But general jurisdiction is saying, okay, the defendant has continuous and systematic contacts with the state. Specific jurisdiction is saying the lawsuit itself, the allegations, they arise out of the defendant's activities within a state. Okay, so first, Perry argues there's no general jurisdiction. Tyler Perry, they say, is a Georgia resident. He pays taxes there. His primary home is there. His studio is there. He votes there. And just because he owns property in California, that's not enough. That Dixon doesn't really explain what Perry's alleged extensive business connections or activities are in the state of California. And as far as Perry's companies that are named as defendants in the lawsuit, they say they're headquartered in Georgia. They don't operate in California. And moreover, they make the argument that this is not an outlier. This is not an exceptional case where these companies' activities are so continuous or systematic that they are basically at home in California. There's no offices in California. They don't own property or maintain bank accounts in California. They're not licensed to do business in California. There's no registered agent in California. Now, Bradford, just taking all of that is true. And I don't know if, Mr. Dixon's going to be fighting that and saying, no, I can show that they really do have contacts there. As far as the court not having general personal jurisdiction over the defendants, is that a good argument?
I think if you take everything is true, and I don't know if everything is true, I think it's a decent argument. The problem is that I think Mr. Perry still owns property in California that may be subject him to jurisdiction of California. I think the companies, they would have to argue that the companies don't do business in California, which I find hard to believe because I think, he's got certain deals with certain, if you made a deal with Netflix, if you made a deal with Hulu, any of these companies that do business in California, if his businesses dealt with them, if his businesses had relations with them, I think that it becomes a more difficult argument. Now, if everything is taken as true that you just said, I think it's a decent argument for Perry, but I don't know if everything is actually true. What I know of is that Perry still owns some property in California, and I think the corporations still do business with studios out in California. So I think that's kind of where this is going to happen, and it's going to be a type of hearing that's going to have evidence presented as to what is the jurisdiction, and each side is going to be it's going to be like a mini trial if it's done correctly.
So that was the general jurisdiction argument. Now, saying the court doesn't believe that, now we go into specific personal jurisdiction, right? And this is another interesting argument because Perry argues, you know what? there's no specific personal jurisdiction over me or my companies because the dispute in question, what this lawsuit is all about, none of that relates to our contacts in California. So it says, quote, Dixon alleges he met Mr. Perry in Georgia while Dixon was living in Georgia and working for a Georgia-based event company. Dixon auditioned for and secured a role in a television series produced by And Action, a Georgia LLC, that was filmed in Georgia. Dixon accepted a recurring acting role in another series that was filmed exclusively in Georgia. Dixon stayed on set at Tyler Perry Studios in Georgia when COVID-19 delayed production. Dixon wrote a script for a television series and executed a purchase agreement for the pilot episode while he lived in Georgia. Dixon filmed the pilot episode for that series in Georgia.
Everything's
Dixon
taking
accepted a
place in
role
Georgia.
a PBS movie that was filmed in Georgia. And moreover, Perry argues that Dixon's decision to relocate to California in January 2023, that doesn't matter because that was 3 years after he began working for Perry's Productions and over a year after the last alleged assault by Tyler Perry. So another way to look at it, they argue, is that Dixon's claims, they don't arise out of the defendant's activities in California. He wasn't injured in California or that the defendants aimed their conduct at him in California. And Perry says litigating this in California, that would provide an undue burden on him. Again, he's from Georgia. California itself has no interest in deciding this case. That's the argument, that it would be more efficient to handle it in Georgia because all the defendants and all the witnesses are there. Bradford, your take on that argument?
So specific jurisdiction, I think, is a loser for the plaintiff because everything occurred in Georgia.
What it sounded
I think if you look at specific jurisdiction, I think it's a different question here. And, you know, the fact that the undue burden issue is kind of, I don't even look at that argument really. That it's in California and these guys are from Georgia. It's an undue burden and it's a judicial economy. All those kind of arguments kind of fall by the wayside. The better argument on specific jurisdiction is that everything alleged happened in Georgia. Everything that possibly could have alleged happened in Georgia. You know, the filming happened in Georgia. The employment happened in Georgia. So all of those things is way more relevant than it's an undue burden, but it's a much, much, much stronger argument on the specific. But don't forget, they can look at general or specific, but in the specific, I think that he has a very good argument on specific jurisdiction. General jurisdiction, I think that the court is going to have to kind of jump through some hoops, and they're going to have to really look at a lot of evidence that's provided to see if there's general jurisdiction. But then also, don't forget, he could try and go to federal court in California, and because there's diversity of all of the individuals, he lives in California and everyone else lives in Georgia, and he's going to say they still have some ties to California with, you know, property and dealings and business dealings, and a federal court may look at that a lot more favorable to the plaintiff than a state court.
Especially when you're suing for $260 million. I mean, you get the threshold to get into the court. Okay.
All right. So we got this guy right here. He $260 million. A lot of y'all say he capping. A lot of y'all say he might be telling the truth, man. I don't know, man. This seems fishy to me.
This is something you mentioned before, and I think it's another interesting argument that Perry makes. He says, look at what Dixon signed when he started working for us. Quote, when he signed his performer agreements, plaintiff agreed that, quote, if a dispute or portion thereof or any claim for a particular form of relief not otherwise precluded by any other provision of this agreement, they may not be arbitrated pursuant to applicable state or federal law, may be heard only in a court of competent jurisdiction of Fulton County applying Georgia law without regard to its choice of law's principles. Quote, Dixon cannot meet the heavy burden of showing that the clauses are unreasonable or unjust or procured through fraud. Now, Bradford, going back to what you said, you know, some would say, oh my gosh, all right, says it in the contract, there you go, Georgia law, Georgia courts. But you said, you know, what he's suing for is outside the contract. So how much do you think that argument's strong?
I personally think it's a pretty good argument to say it's, you know, sexual harassment is not anticipated when you sign an employment agreement. And I made that argument in several cases. And some of them I was successful, and I'll be honest with you, one of them I wasn't. But, you know, in terms of signing that contract and agreeing to the terms of the contract, is it anticipatory that you would be sexually harassed and that's what is going to be applicable, an arbitration or something like that. There's no specific language to that. And a lot of companies want that. A lot of companies want an arbitration because it keeps it quiet. When, the president of a company sexually harasses some employee, you want to try and keep that quiet. So they put in arbitration clauses specifically for that point. But a lot of times those arbitration clauses are written so poorly, like this one seems to be so overly broad that I don't know if it will be applicable to a sexual harassment case or an environment with sexual harassment at a workplace. So I think there's a lot going on. I think that, this opens the door really to there could be federal investigations into this allegation as well. I don't know if it would be considered a civil or federal crime because I don't know all the allegations that are going to be made in here. But like I said, this opens the dam. All of a sudden the crack is there. And I think that a lot is going to flow from this. And you saw that in the Sean Combs case. I mean, take it for what it is. The allegations are different. But you saw it in the Sean Combs case where a civil case was filed, and what flowed from that was a lot more cases that came up, both criminal and civil. You saw that in the same thing with Harvey Weinstein. I think depending on how this case goes, you could see that same thing in this case. If there's a lot more victims that come forward, and this is the pattern that Mr. Perry has, I think that he's in for a rough ride.
And before I let you go, I want to ask you what you think.
That was from a lawyer. The lawyer say he in for a rough ride, guys.
One option is they could dismiss all the claims. They will agree with Tyler Perry and say this shouldn't be filed in California court. Now, the reason I say that's maybe one option, curious your thoughts. The other option is Tyler Perry provides an alternative to throwing the whole case out. Transfer it from California to Georgia. You mentioned before about what the advantages might be in Georgia for Tyler Perry. And again, he makes the argument because that's where it should have been brought. They're better equipped at dealing with Georgia law. He writes, the purported actions occurred outside of California. Valid contractual choice of law provisions exist requiring Georgia law, and a Georgia court will be more familiar with Georgia law. Georgia law also applies to Dixon's state law tort claims because California courts apply the laws of the state where the tort is committed. So Bradford, before I let you go, what do you think a court's going to do here? Do you think they're going to side with Tyler Perry and say either we're dismissing this whole case or Georgia, it's coming to you?
I'm going to give you the lawyer answer.
What you think, lawyer?
I don't know all of the facts that are going to come out about the jurisdictional clause, but I will tell you, I don't think the court will just transfer it to the Northern District of Georgia. I think they will dismiss it without prejudice if they're going to dismiss and allow them to refile in Georgia. It's very unlikely that courts transfer to other states. It does happen. But usually federal court to federal court, sometimes state to federal court, pretty much very, very infrequently, almost never. But I don't think that this court would do that, is just transfer it to the Northern District of Georgia. I think they would either dismiss it outright and allow them to file in Georgia, dismiss it without prejudice based on jurisdictional clause, or they will find that they have significant or at least minimal ties to California to be able to sue them in California after some sort of hearing or an evidentiary motion. So the court may say, hey, give me all your evidence to show that they do have these ties to California, and we will take it from there. There's all these famous cases, the Brown Shoe Company. We're gonna get into all these minutia about jurisdictional clauses, I think, and the court will really take a good look at it. Generally speaking, they have hearings on it, but some courts will rule on the documents that you provide them.
Bradford Cohen.
All right, so that was it on the first situation with Tyler Perry, man. You know what I'm saying? It's still up in the air right now. Well, as of today, guys, a little bit earlier, Tyler Perry got himself into some more hot water, guys. Hold on, let me get it up, fast forward it. Yeah, so he got that $260 million situation hanging over his head, as well as now a $77 million assault case on his hands. Check this out.
Perry, arguably one of Atlanta's biggest celebrities, one of the biggest moguls that we know of, has been sued. He's facing a lawsuit over apparent sexual assault allegations.
Another
one. Actors from the hit movie Boo, Medea Halloween, is looking for $77 million against Tyler Perry, saying that there were unwanted sexual advances made
today,
toward
guys.
him over the last several years. Now, the actor's name is Mario Rodriguez. He filed his lawsuit Thursday in the state of California against alleging that Tyler Perry subjected him to those unwanted sexual advances that happened multiple times over a series of several years. He says that he also committed sexual battery and assault toward him while he was there at Perry's home.
So the one that I just showed y'all was the first allegation for $260 million. And now this guy from Tyler Perry movie Boo, he done came back and sued for $77 million.
In Los Angeles. Again, he's looking for at least $77 million.
I know y'all better get these likes up. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device and click those three dots. Hit that thumbs up, man. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. This is everything we know about the brand new lawsuit brought against Tyler Perry for $77 million in another actual assault case.
Damages. He's not only sued Tyler Perry, but has also sued Lionsgate, which distributed the 2016 film that I told you about, Boo, Medea Halloween. He says that Lionsgate turned a blind eye to Tyler Perry's alleged misconduct and didn't do anything to help him. So Lionsgate has not immediately responded to comment about this, but we are hoping that we hear something soon. Meanwhile, Tyler Perry's lawyer has denied the allegations publicly. So again, we'll be keeping our eyes on this. $77 million is nothing to scoff at. So that is a really big deal. And when I saw that notification hit my phone from the Fox Local app, my jaw was on the floor. Tyler Perry has kind of had a rough year when it comes to allegations and people tarnishing his character. Not sure how much is true, how much is fake, but that is something that we will all be keeping our eyes on.
So he got a brand new situation. And this guy basically gave an interview as well. Y'all, hold on. Let's check it out. You know what I'm saying? This is the brand new accuser. We seen the last one. Let's go look at the new one, guys. Yeah, this is crazy, man. Tyler Perry, you like Diddy. You got too much going on. They always said where's smoke, there's fire. You know what I'm saying? And this is accuser number 2 against Tyler Perry, guys. So here's the story. This is him.
Well, I stayed quiet for much too long. I could have saved somebody that this probably happened to after me, but I do apologize, and I'm speaking up now.
Now a second man, model Mario Rodriguez, is suing Tyler Perry, accusing the actor of sexual assault and alleging a disturbing pattern of manipulation. And his lawsuit alleges something deeply specific, that Perry allegedly reenacted a famous Good Will Hunting therapy scene in order to target him with past trauma. This lawsuit also names Lionsgate, accusing the studio of enabling Perry's alleged behavior. We have the filing. It includes alleged text messages we're seeing for the first time. We have the complaint. We're going to break it all down for you right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Dang, man, it's crazy.
Incredible support that we get from our sponsors, and that
is
includes
crazy to see.
Click the link. Life.
These guys doing this.
For one model in Los Angeles, that call reportedly came from a Hollywood billionaire, allegedly promising fame, a movie role, a future, opportunities. But instead, he claims this all turned into a nightmare of manipulation, unwanted advances, and sexual assault over a period of time. Now, the man on the other end of that phone, familiar name if you've been following us here on Sidebar, we're talking about Tyler Perry, the filmmaker, the producer behind Medea, massive entertainment empire, and the person accusing him now is model Mario Rodriguez. He is now suing Tyler Perry. Now, the reason that I say this is because as we go into these
Now, remember, this is accuser number 2.
Shocking claims and the potential legal strength of these claims. I mean, we're talking allegations of sexual assault by Perry, followed by something that I think is going to make your jaw drop. This is not the first time we have talked about Tyler Perry recently. No, we covered Tyler
Absolutely we did, and I just showed it to them. He gonna show y'all the past one and the present.
Here before, back in June, another actor, Derek Dixon, filed a $260 million.
There you go, $260 million.
lawsuit in California accusing Perry of essentially quid pro quo sexual harassment and assault. Now, Perry's legal team, they fought back hard. They called it a failed money grab, arguing the case should be thrown out or moved to Georgia. That battle is still playing out, by the way. But now Perry is facing a second, arguably strikingly similar kind of lawsuit. And that's what we want to go into. Now, this new one was filed just days ago, literally on Christmas Day, December 25th, 2025, in California Superior Court. And this is brought again by Mario Rodriguez, a model, an actor who had this very small role in Perry's 2016 film called Boo, A Medea Halloween. And this lawsuit doesn't just name Tyler Perry. It also seemingly targets his production company and Lionsgate, the studio that distributes Tyler Perry's films. So accusing them essentially of knowing about his alleged behavior, enabling it, and benefiting from him. So, by the way, from a legal point of view, from a lawsuit point of view, usually go after the entities, as that may be where the money, the assets are for purposes of liability and collection. What are the key allegations? What's the main theme here? Rodriguez claims that Perry used the promise of roles, a Hollywood career, to groom him, make sexual...
Man, this is crazy, guys. You know, this is basically like the same thing the other guy said. Lure them with movie roles to get them there.
Advances, touch him, and sexually abuse him. And the suit describes an alleged pattern of isolating him, prying into past trauma, escalating physical contact, and explicit propositions. But the details in the complaint, they are very, very specific. They are also graphic, and they follow a disturbing script, for lack of a better word, a script, okay? And that's what we want to go into. We want to go through this story and see if there's a strength to it, strength to these claims, strength to the narrative. So I'm going to walk you through the complaint, basically page by page, and I'm going to read you directly from key sections so you can hear the language that it's used. So the document starts by setting the stage.
This is the official paperwork.
Reads, quote, defendant Tyler Perry is a producer-director who wields immense power in the movie industry. Unfortunately, Perry uses his power to abuse and sexually assault people who hope to secure roles in his movies. Perry's type are those who have been victims of childhood traumas in the past. Plaintiff Mario Rodriguez was one of his victims. Now, that's key language because I said at the time, I remember this, when Dixon had filed his lawsuit against Tyler Perry, I wondered, would this lead to more accusers to come forward, right? Was Derek Dixon just a one-off making these allegations, or could this start more people coming forward? It's a two-edged sword when you think about it, right? Perry's position could be...
Can we get the likes to 200, guys? We need 50 more likes. If you haven't double-tapped your screen yet on your mobile device, please do that. Or click the three dots in the right-hand corner. Hit the thumbs up. Most definitely subscribe to the channel. I wouldn't be asking y'all to hit the like button if it didn't help out the channel, man. Double-tap that screen if you're on the mobile device, or click the three dots, hit that thumbs up, man. Most definitely subscribe to the channel if you're new.
As one person sues, this will open the floodgates for more false accusations. The other side, assuming all the allegations are true, takes one person to come forward against a wealthy, powerful person for others to feel safe to do so. We've seen this back and forth in a lot of high-profile sexual misconduct cases. And I will say, too, this is important to note, Rodriguez is represented by the same lawyer who brought Derek Dixon's claims. We're talking about Jonathan Delshad. We'll get more on that a little bit later.
Oh, so these two, so the two accusers are sharing the same attorney. Good to know.
But the core allegation is established immediately. We're talking about an abuse of power targeting vulnerable people. Now, how did Rodriguez enter into Perry's orbit, right? Let's start there. So the complaint says that in 2015, a trainer at an Equinox gym out in Los Angeles approached Rodriguez and told him, quote, that defendant Tyler Perry wanted to meet Mr. Rodriguez and to talk about offering him an acting role. And the complaint alleges that Perry called him that same day. The filing allegedly quotes Perry from that call, saying about the potential role, quote, you know, Mario, I'm not a bad person to know and have in your corner. And the suit states that Rodriguez auditions, quickly gets the part. It reads, clearly the audition was only a formality given Mr. Perry's position of power and his personal desire to have Mr. Rodriguez work for him. Okay. Okay, let's stop right there. So first, if Rodriguez can establish that Perry called him and that this person approached him at Equinox, so you wonder if that person would testify if they're available, that would be key. Does become a question, how does Rodriguez remember, essentially verbatim, what Perry had said? Did he document it in some way? This call is probably not recorded. But an argument could be, it's unusual for Tyler Perry to set all this up, have a communication with a minor player in a film. Usually a casting director or a producer would handle that, but I don't know, maybe there's an argument that this is Perry's style. He has ownership on all aspects. He wants to speak to everybody that's involved in the cast. The other way to look at it is, this is unusual, and Perry targeted Rodriguez and only got him the part for his own personal reasons. Now, how can they establish the phone call other than through the testimony of Rodriguez? Maybe there's phone records, but obviously it wouldn't be a printout of their conversation. It would rather be just this call took place at that time. But again, we're talking about, 10 years ago. So then the complaint describes things escalating during this solo visit that Rodriguez made to Perry's Los Angeles home. This is key. Now, Rodriguez makes clear that while all of this is going on, he's just...
Accuser number 2, y'all think Tyler Perry did this, or this guy just trying to get some money too?
Really excited for this acting opportunity and to be working with Tyler Perry. So anyway, he allegedly goes over, they have drinks, they go to Tyler Perry's theater room. Now first, the complaint details this instruction from Perry. He allegedly told Mr. Rodriguez to keep his cell phone in the kitchen because, quote, there are cameras everywhere and they're always listening. By the way, if there really are cameras in his house, is that something that could be obtained through discovery and you can have him on camera saying that? I don't know. In the theater, this is important. The suit alleges that Perry began asking deeply personal questions about Rodriguez's childhood and traumas, and Rodriguez became emotional. The suit alleges, quote, Mr. Perry told him, you have a lot of trauma in you, and believe it or not, we have a lot in common. Mr. Perry told Mr. Rodriguez to stand up and said, come here, man, let me hug you. Mr. Perry hugged Mr. Rodriguez and said, it's not your fault. Now listen to this. Quote, in the moment, Mr. Rodriguez could not help but feel that Mr. Perry was trying to reenact the famous scene between Matt Damon and Robin Williams from the acclaimed 1997 movie Good Will Hunting. Now, if you haven't seen Good Will Hunting, first of all, you should. It's a great movie. But if you haven't, it's a very famous therapy scene where Robin Williams' character repeatedly tells Matt Damon's character, who had been abused in the past, that it's not your fault, pulling him into a hug. There's a really big emotional breakdown. And it's meant to be this moment of deep vulnerability and release, which is why you're having this alleged comparison. It stands out. And I will say that level of unique specificity, that can arguably help with credibility if this goes to trial and Rodriguez takes the stand. It's like so strange and so specific. Could he really make this up?
Accuser 2 in the Tyler Perry situation, guys.
But you go from there. The complaint describes this encounter taking a turn. This is when, according to Rodriguez, it turns physically invasive, with Perry then allegedly rubbing Rodriguez's shoulders and his chest and making comments. And when Rodriguez sits back down, he claims that Perry sat next to him and began rubbing his inner thigh.
Wow.
Now, Rodriguez claims that he then got up and excused himself, but the suit quotes, or allegedly quotes, Perry as being persistent, saying, just relax. I promise I'm a good guy to know and have in your corner. You just need to relax and stop being
nasty motherfucker.
So tense. Man, if you just come, I would take care of you for the rest of your life and you wouldn't have to worry about anything. And I know you'll come around. Now, he claims that he ultimately left Perry's house, went home, but what happens next? So he says he goes to Atlanta to film in January 2016. And he says that Perry never sexually assaulted him or attacked him on set, which, by the way, also potentially goes to an issue of credibility, right? For someone who may be questioning Rodriguez and questioning if this is true, you could argue, well, if he's claiming that he was assaulted by Tyler Perry, wouldn't he want to, embellish every detail he can? But to say that it started only at this house with his leg being touched, nothing further happening, that nothing happened on set, does it help with credibility, right? Maybe. Now, after the film wrapped, this is when Rodriguez accuses Perry of allegedly continuing to invite Rodriguez over, saying how he might be a good fit for future roles that he's writing. Now, Rodriguez claims that during these visits, they would talk about work, but then also personal things. And from here, he claims that Perry allegedly made sexual comments to him and even asked if he had sex with another man. And then, when
Tyler Perry, you ever had sex with another man before? Wow.
Rodriguez apparently said that he was having a baby with his girlfriend, and that Perry allegedly sensed how stressed out Rodriguez was about his financial situation, Perry allegedly said, quote, "If you would just give in to me, I would take care of you. You would never have to worry about anything again."
Oh, wow.
Side note, we don't know if this actually happened.
Oh, wow.
The counter argument to this would be, Tyler Perry really said that in that specific language that could help your legal claims? Maybe, maybe not. Again, it's all going to come down to credibility and how can they back it up. But Perry also allegedly shared, and this is important, that he himself, quote, was sexually molested as a kid. And the complaint argues that he was using that shared trauma as a tactic to build trust before making more sexual advances. And then he claims that Tyler Perry...
Is y'all believing this, or is this still y'all still ain't believing? Let me know.
...sexually assaulted him. Like allegedly grabbing his leg right by his private area and allegedly saying, "It's all right." Now, there is no way to truly corroborate that unless there are cameras in the home or it's just the testimony of Rodriguez. This is not like a rape case, right, where you're talking about maybe DNA or forensics, even though that might be difficult from such a long time ago. But this is really, again, a question of credibility. Now, this is the next part. When Rodriguez claims that he refused these alleged sexual advances, he claims all the acting roles dried up. The suit states plainly, quote, "Because Mr. Rodriguez continually rejected Mr. Perry's sexual advances and assaults, Mr. Perry never hired him for Medea's..."
Remember, the first one said that after he refused to do it with Perry, Perry unalived his character on the show. This guy is saying once he refused to do it, Tyler Perry cut ties with him too. Is that a pattern?
Halloween 2, despite all their conversations for new roles for Rodriguez. Then we go to this key moment, this key incident that allegedly happened, it's talked about in the complaint, that allegedly happened in November of 2018. So after a dinner where Perry allegedly discussed a role for Rodriguez in the Oval show, the Oval series. By the way, Rodriguez said that he was reluctant to go to this dinner in the first place, but thought, you know what, this is a restaurant, it's a public place. He was thinking of his career. And that's important because if Rodriguez takes this to trial and is cross-examined by Perry's attorney about, you claim you're sexually harassed, sexually assaulted, why did you keep coming back if this were true? Well, now he would try to explain it. It's career advancement. I was trying to help my career. I was maybe hoping that this wouldn't happen again, that I'd have a safe place. You know, I'm trying to think of my career.
This is sick, guys.
Anyway, going back to this. After the dinner, Rodriguez claims that Perry invited him, again, over to his house. And by the way, there is a text exchange that's embedded in this complaint that arguably confirms...
We got some more messages. Remember, the first one had messages. I guess this guy got messages too. I'm going to run down and get a bottle of Real. I'll be back in 20 minutes. I'm headed back. You on the way? No problem. I'm on Beverly Hill. Beverly, you good? Yes, I'll wait for you at the gate. I'm going on to the house. I'll see you there. Oh, goodness.
This meetup at the house. There, the suit describes Perry allegedly making explicit sexual propositions. When Rodriguez goes to the kitchen, the suit alleges, quote, Mr. Perry followed Mr. Rodriguez to the kitchen. Then, Mr. Perry tightly hugged Mr. Rodriguez and repeatedly told him to, quote, hold on, while Mr. Perry tried to...
Wow, Mr. Perry, grabbing that man, telling him to hold on. Lord, how mercy. It says, unbuckle Mr. Rodriguez's pants. Oh, man.
Unbuckle Mr. Rodriguez's pants. And the complaint then states, it alleges, that Perry then grabbed Rodriguez in the genital area. And Rodriguez allegedly said no, He was able to.
Now you in there lifting all these weights, buffing everything. Another man grab you in your private part that you don't want to touch him, and you just tell him no. I'd have beat Tyler Perry up. I'm just saying.
Struggle free, and then he apparently calls Uber to go home. And as he waits for his ride, the suit describes this alleged sequence. Quote, Mr. Perry tried to apologize for his sexual assault, telling Mr. Rodriguez, hey, my bad, my bad. Mr. Perry, afraid of consequences for his sexual assaults, then stepped away for a minute, returned, and stuffed $5,000 into Mr. Rodriguez's pocket. So, from there, the complaint claims that the next month, Perry invited Rodriguez over again to his house, and there was another embedded conversation, text exchange, seemingly suggesting that. Now, I'm going to read you this next part verbatim from the complaint. I think it's important. Quote, Mr. Rodriguez agreed to go over because Perry had made him believe that Perry was sorry for assaulting him. The $5,000 and
oh, man, so after that, out and getting that $5,000, he left, and then Perry called him back, and dude went back over his house. I never went back over Tyler Perry's house. I don't know. See, it's just it's the small things that make you like, I don't know, man. You went back over there? Oh, man.
Reaching out back to him about the situation and making light of it was a sign of Perry's understanding of his guilt and of the mistake Perry made. Even though lucid Rodriguez would be concerned about a worse assault, Rodriguez could not get past the potential of living his dream of being a movie star and the fame and fortune that would accompany him that was being dangled in front of him. Again, very, very important if he's cross-examined about why he kept going back. Now, Rodriguez claims, though, that while at Perry's house, Perry allegedly massaged his shoulders, gave him long hugs, talked about sex.
Now, a person doing all of this making you super uncomfortable, you know, does unzipped your pants, stuck his hands down your pants allegedly, you know, grab your stuff, and then you didn't like it. On your way out, he gave you 5 bands. A couple of weeks later, he called you again and said, hey, man, you coming back over? I'm sorry. And you go back over there. If I ain't like it, I ain't going back. I'd have called the police that day. Me and him would have been having a whole fist fight, you know, on this entire situation. He'd have been trying to call the police for his life. I'm just saying. But yet, this guy gets away and goes back, man. That's the thing that get me. Man, forget a movie career. Forget all of that, man. I never sell my soul for a movie role. I'm just saying.
Things, and then sprinkled in some stuff about work. And he claims that he would leave the house before things escalated. From there, the suit claims, after another unwanted advance, namely allegedly
12,
forcing his hand on Perry's private area in 2018 or 2019, so this is a separate incident. Again, Rodriguez claims he went over to the house because this was his only way to break into the industry, and that Perry allegedly said they were going to talk about potential roles. It says, the complaint says, quote,
see, and everything they keep on talking about, too, well, he wanted to be a big star, and this and that. Well, Tyler is basically telling them what it takes, I guess, for him to be a big star with Tyler the first time. Like, hey, bro, you want a movie role? You know, let me get in there. That's what he's saying. You know, in so many words, if you want to act with me, you got to let him in there. And if you don't want to let him in there, then just, you got to know how to tell him no. You see what I'm saying? It's simple. You know, he telling you want to be a big star. I'm just saying, allegedly, they all have to do some disgusting things to become stars, allegedly. And Tyler was basically telling the both of these guys, like, hey, you want to get in my production company, this is what you got to do. If you don't, which is totally illegal, which is nasty as heck. But they keep on saying, oh, well, I kept going back over there because I wanted to be a big movie star. Well, okay.
Perry once again apologized and stuffed another $5,000 in cash in Mr. Rodriguez's pocket and sent him away. Now, after Rodriguez apparently finally cut off contact with Tyler Perry, the complaint includes these apparent text messages from June 2019 seemingly showing Perry's frustration. So if these are in fact messages between Perry and Rodriguez, okay, assuming that's what these are, Perry allegedly texts him, quote, I haven't heard from you.
Oh, we got
and when
some
Rodriguez
news.
apologized, Perry allegedly responded, I deserve a text at least once a month.
Hold up. Let's go back.
Text him, quote, I haven't heard.
Yeah. I haven't heard from you. I ain't mad. Why? Why? You never text unless something is going on.
Heard from you. And when Rodriguez apologized,
That's between
Perry
him and
allegedly
Perry.
responded, I deserve a text at least once a month. There's also alleged texts from Tyler Perry that say, good night, F off, wanted to give you much S, you never text unless something is going on. A text saying, no, you're busy, just saying hi is what all my friends do. And in the end, Rodriguez claims that he never got additional work from Tyler Perry. And the lawsuit claims that Rodriguez decided to come forward in 2025 with his allegations after learning of that similar lawsuit that was filed by actor Derek Dixon. In fact, and this is in the complaint, a friend allegedly texted Rodriguez about Dixon's lawsuit, and Rodriguez replied, quote, OS, he's at it again, when's he gonna learn? Where the friend responded, when he ends up like Diddy, referring to Sean Diddy.
When he ends up, so he texted to a friend after finding out about other dude coming forth and basically saying, oh yeah, he's at it again, when is he gonna learn? And the other dude said, when he ends up like Diddy. Oh wow. I think this is to the other accused. Hold on, let's run that back real quick.
Rodriguez replied, quote, OS, he's at it again, when's he gonna learn? Where the friend responded, when he ends up like
just
Diddy,
to a random
referring
friend.
to Sean Diddy Combs. Now, the final part of the complaint lays out the 4 legal claims, the causes of action here, what he's suing for. Sexual assault, sexual battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, all against Perry, and there is a 4th claim for negligent retention against Lionsgate. By the way, should be noted the timing of this suit. So it's filed right before 2026. And for example, under California law, you need to file a sexual assault lawsuit within 10 years from the date of the last act or attempted act. And while he describes an incident in 2019, remember, 2015 is when all of this allegedly started and, traced back to that first alleged episode. So I would imagine in an abundance of caution, filing this right before 2026, probably how the suit can maybe go forward. That's just my 2 cents. Anyway, going back to that negligent retention claim, so the argument is that Lionsgate, right, this film distributor, which the suit claims hires and supervises Tyler Perry and benefits from his production of films, they knew or should have known of this alleged misconduct, that they failed to act, and they continued to financially benefit from their relationship with Tyler Perry. And this lawsuit is seeking damages reportedly totaling $77 million. Rodriguez claims that he has suffered PTSD, physical, psychological, emotional injuries, damage to his professional reputation, which, by the way, yes, could be substantiated by Rodriguez testifying about how he suffered. But sometimes in these lawsuits, you see medical professionals testifying, maybe an agent, a producer talking about reputational harm or what they observed, friends, family. But the harm suffered is essential for a damages calculation in a lawsuit. So that's the core narrative and the key excerpts as presented in this 28-page complaint. Now, I will say this, okay? In the days since this complaint was filed, there has been some activity. Both sides have responded publicly. So Tyler Perry's defense team, which is led by high-profile attorney Alex Spiro, has issued a categorical denial. That statement reads, having recently failed in another matter against Mr. Perry, the very same lawyer has now made yet another demand from more than a decade ago.
Now remember, the same lawyer was the one that represented the first guy I showed y'all, as well as the new accuser. He represents both parties. That's why Tyler Perry lawyers, basically pointed that out. Like, he is representing somebody else as well.
Which will also be a failed money grab. And this directly references the previous lawsuit filed by actor Derek Dixon, which is still in its early legal stages, apparently was moved from California to Georgia. And shortly after the lawsuit became...
So we found out that, remember, in the first one they were saying that was the problem. Tyler Perry said he filed it in the wrong court. He should have filed it in Georgia, where Tyler Perry has his studios, this, that, and the third. Looks like we found out that they did move the first situation to Georgia.
In public, Mario Rodriguez, the plaintiff here, posted a video addressing his choice to speak out. Listen to what he said.
Well, I stayed quiet for much too long. And I just want to say I'm really sorry, man, because if I would have spoken up sooner, I could have saved somebody that this probably happened to after me. I just want to say sorry for that, whoever that may be. It could have stopped with me if I would have said something, but I do apologize, and I'm speaking up now.
So look, we'll see if Tyler Perry will try to get this dismissed on procedural grounds. Is this a case that he even wants to take to trial to clear his name? Is there a risk of what could come out through the discovery process as material is exchanged and evidence is exchanged? What could come out in trial? What could come out in the media? And whenever you think about a high-profile player like this, there's two things, right? There's obviously the lawsuit, there's the court of law, but then also the court of public
Thank you, Melissa.
opinion. The world of public opinion is a lot different than a court of law. The text messages that are being presented publicly, they could be more difficult ones to overcome or explain from a media perspective, from a PR perspective. Now, the problem for Rodriguez is this is an allegation. And unless he told others, immediately or over the years what allegedly happened to him, there was that friend that allegedly texted him the news of Dixon. When that came out, maybe that person would come forward. But unless Rodriguez has some other definitive proof, it is essentially his word against Tyler Perry's. And him keeping contact with Tyler Perry and still coming over, that will have to be explained to a jury. It really comes down to that continuing conversation of power dynamics, the psychology of sexual assault, the Hollywood dynamic. It can get very, very complicated. But for Tyler Perry, again, these are just allegations and he's denying it. And Tyler Perry has a right to defend himself. So this is still in the early stages. We will see how that plays out and we'll keep a careful eye on it here on Sidebar. That's all we have for you though right now. Thank you so much.
So we find out that the second accuser is being represented. Thank you, Lies Everywhere. The second accuser is being represented by the same lawyer as the first accuser, but it seems to me that Tyler Perry is in some deep water, man. You seen that text message say he wasn't going to be satisfied until he wound up like Diddy. Looks like they doing everything they can to get him there as well. Thank you, Miss Pooh Bear. All right, one more before we go, y'all. Let's take another look at what's going on in the Epstein files and how they saying that they basically that with what's going on got Trump and them shook, guys. I'm just saying, what do y'all think? Will we ever get the real Epstein files, all of them?
After 1 million more documents in the Epstein files were discovered last week, all eyes have been on the Department of Justice. There are questions over when the public will receive this new massive tranche of information, a sudden discovery of information from the FBI and Southern District of New York, after the DOJ missed its deadline to release everything earlier this month. That apparent lack of transparency, along with intense national attention, and President Trump's insistence that the Epstein story is a, quote, hoax and witch hunt, is a major part of why Marjorie Taylor Greene says she's leaving Congress early. It's reflective of the anger and frustration we're seeing from a large faction of Trump's MAGA base. But will this fracture become a lasting, irreversible break? Joining us now, former Ohio Governor John Kasich, now an MS Now political analyst and political strategist who ran Julian Castro's 2020 presidential campaign, Maya Rupert. Governor, I'll begin with you. So do you see this fallout between Greene and Trump as emblematic of a more serious fracture or pattern in the party?
Yeah, Tony, I think it's one example of a fracture. Obviously, the Epstein situation has really driven a number of people away from Donald Trump. Secondly, though, I think, that when we look at these ICE raids and we see what people can conclude is sort of a meanness that's going on across our country. When you look at the Republicans who broke and said that in my district, we got people that are really hurting on health care, and we need to renew these subsidies, even for a shorter period of time or just part of them. You see that happening. You see the Senate kind of thumbing their nose at the president when he wanted to get rid of the filibuster. What is happening is the president is just simply not as popular as he was. And Republicans, though, still fear him. But over time, if he continues like he is, Republicans are going to run for themselves. They want to win re-election. So if they have to distance themselves a bit, they'll be sure they're going to do it. But, not full scale, all out gone at this point, but you can see the cracks and they've been happening for weeks now.
Maya, I want your big picture thoughts on what the Epstein story is starting to represent. A little earlier in the show, we were talking about, just the reality, the economic reality that so many Americans are facing, as it's hard for many to get a job right now. Wage growth is stagnant. People are feeling squeezed and poorer and poorer. And at the same time, there's this big national story of this wealthy, powerful person who now, even though he is gone, it seems, at least the perception for many people, is that it seems he or the people around him, who are in many cases also wealthy and powerful, are being protected. Do you see those two things happening in American society at the same time as connected?
Absolutely. And I think what we're seeing is really an inevitability that the coalition, if we want to call it that Trump put together, he was really only able to put together by lying to everyone and sort of bringing people together and telling everybody what they wanted to hear. And now the rubber is meeting the road. Now we are seeing this story of wealthy and powerful people, as you said, being protected in a moment that working people are struggling in every area of the economy, in every area of life, and not being protected. And we have a president who was elected by working class voters. And so I think what we're really going to see is this is the beginnings of a fracture that was always going to happen, because Trump was not interested in actually changing the character of his politics. He just needed a bunch of people to vote for him. So I think really the question becomes, what is the Republican Party going to do? Do they want to make a decision? Are they going to continue to be a party?
I ain't gonna lie, it do look weird for them to be, not so coming with information, man, when it comes to this situation. And like I've always said, I think that people press Trump and them so hard on releasing these files because that's what they campaigned on.
Of, protecting wealthy? Do they want to try to protect working class people? And what does that really mean? What's the real agenda for workers? Because I don't think in these Trump years, we've ever actually seen one.
Governor, do you think that kind of soul searching is happening right now? I ask because, as part of this profile with the New York Times, Marjorie Taylor Greene describes herself as having been naive. She also says that our side has been trained by Donald Trump to never apologize and to never admit when you're wrong. You just keep pummeling your enemies no matter what. And as a Christian, I don't believe in doing that. Do you read her or see her actions, her recent remarks? And do you think she's being genuine, or is this sort of an effort to sanitize and re-strategize for what's to come?
Antonia, we can't guess, right? We can't say. I mean, there was a guy named Saul, and he traveled all over the world persecuting Christians. And when he got to Damascus, he was thrown off his horse, blinded, and he ended up becoming St. Paul, who's written a giant chunk of the New Testament. So, I mean, was Saul real in the beginning? People didn't know, but he became Paul, and then they all believed. Is she truly having a transformation? I don't know. I wouldn't want to say that she's not, but we've got to see how she does going forward. And I'm not her judge. If she wants to claim that she is, I think the whole Epstein thing, Thomas Mack.
Now remember, she was back in the Epstein survivors. Marjorie Taylor Greene said that she would go down on the floor, and call names. Then shortly after that, she resigned after Trump gave her backlash, started calling her Marjorie Brown, said that grass turns brown when it dies, or basically whatever, So she basically stepped away from politics. I think her last day is coming up like January 5th or something like that. But she said directly that Trump's saying what he said about her, basically had people calling threats into her home, threatening her children, and basically she took what he said, and he's basically inciting people to unalive her in so many words. So yeah, she's leaving. But hey, this is crazy.
The one man, but women were greatly moved by this. Thank goodness. You want change, you want results.
Yeah,
sometimes
January
you just
5th.
got to go to women, because they say we've had enough of this. What they see is the abuse of children, the abuse of women, and I think they've had enough of that. She also has gone on to talk about the fact that she doesn't want to be attacking people and being mean. I think it's okay in politics to have differences, but when you start attacking somebody's person, when you're treating them like they're trash or something, That is a violation of everything we know
What's up,
as
Leticia?
Americans and as believers. So I hope it's for real. I mean, she is leaving. Where she's going to go, I don't know. But I think it's a good thing that she's saying we've got to stop being mean to one another. I think we all can agree with that. And I hope she'll carry that out.
And she's acknowledging right now she is a bit politically homeless. Maya, very quickly, do you think that at some point Marjorie Taylor Greene will be welcomed into the anti-Trump resistance? Will Democrats want to work with her?
I think the anti-Trump resistance is a lot more than just Democrats. I think that there are people that she will find sort of common ground with. I do think that Democrats should remember that we stand for more than just anti-Trump. And if Marjorie Taylor Greene, I appreciate the governor's comments, if she's really...
Everybody take time to double tap that screen, guys. If you're on a mobile device, double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button, or click the three dots, hit the thumbs up. The three dots in the right-hand corner. Click that and hit the thumbs up. Another way to like the video if you have not. Make sure you guys are subscribing. This is Everything News. We most definitely done ran it down through there. I'm going to give y'all, hold on, let me finish this, but most definitely get them likes up.
Having a transformation, and she wants to approach with a different set and a kinder set of politics, I think that would be wonderful. I do think that civility only gets us so far. For politics to genuinely be not mean, to be kind, they need to be compassionate. They need to recognize inclusivity. I would personally need to see a lot more from Marjorie Taylor Greene before I believe that that was the style of politics she's talking about embracing. But look, I think that there's an anti-Trump resistance that truthfully shouldn't come to the Democrats. I would love to see more anti-Trump resistance within the Republican Party, having people who are going to run differently, because again, the party is going to need an identity beyond Donald Trump. And it is going to be up to Republicans to figure out what that is. Not everyone come over to Democrats and try to change the shape of Democratic politics, but rather reshape Republican politics. I think that would be an incredibly important job for some people to take on. Yeah.
I think to both of your points.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. I think a lot of Americans, as this year comes to an end, they are hoping for more compassionate politics and public service right now. I think people across the spectrum can agree on that. Former Governor John Kasich and Maya Rupert, good to see you both. Thank you.
All right, so that was what they're thinking about, basically the Epstein files, guys. Yeah, man, as Tyler Perry, man, gets itself into a lot more trouble, guys. I think that was like the main story of tonight, but we most definitely covered everything in the Tyler. We talked about Tyler Robinson and his court date that he had, trying to see if they were going to keep the gag order in place. The judge wound up, saying that they were going to unredact the redacted transcript of the court proceedings that they had put out. They're going to release the unredacted version of that for the Tyler Robinson situation. The media will most definitely have access, as well as the public. They're going to be as transparent as can be in the Tyler Robinson situation. That's the guy that unalived Charlie Kirk. We most definitely talked about David, or D4VD, in the Celeste Rivera situation, where he's everybody basically is speculating that he is the one that unalived the young girl Celeste Rivera. Well, they're saying that it was a secret grand jury meeting going on, and basically they were questioning people, trying to see if they had enough evidence to basically lock D4VD up. Well, it's saying that shortly after the new year, he has been indicted. He will be arrested following the new year or whatever. So it looks like David is gonna go to jail, man. I think he needs to go there if he's the one that committed that crime. And this is being said after we found out that they found a chainsaw and a burn cage at the house he was staying at. Two significant pieces of equipment when it comes to this situation, because we've been most definitely hearing about dismemberment and all that, a head being detached, and then they saying it wasn't detached, and I don't know. But they most definitely are saying that David's going to jail, and there was most definitely a burn cage and a chainsaw that was found at David's house, guys. The one that they took everything out of, and David moved away from there following the police raid on the property. All right, we talked about that, and we also got to the million documents, new documents that was found by the DOJ in the Epstein situation, man. They mysteriously found 1 million documents. So it's supposed to be like 1,700,000 documents in this Epstein situation, guys. My question was, how do you lose 1 million documents? How do they become lost? It's 1 million of them. I'm pretty sure it got to be a whole bunch of paperwork. I don't think you just lose it. But anyway, they wound up finding it, and are gonna present it to the public. But they saying they need more time, guys. So as they keep me updated on all these situations and any other situation, I most definitely keep y'all updated on it. We'll most definitely review it right here like we always do on Everything News. If you're not subscribed to the channel, take this time to subscribe to the channel. Most definitely double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, hit that thumbs up, or click the 3 dots and hit that click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up. If you double tap it, automatically do it. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. My 2 hours and something is up. It's time for me to make my grand exit. Shout out to all my old subscribers, my new subscribers. Shout out to all my old members as well as my new members. Shout out to my moderators for keeping this chat running smooth. I know sometimes it get hectic, but I most definitely appreciate each and every one of y'all. Hope to see y'all again tomorrow. Most definitely gonna go live again, probably a little bit earlier than tonight, maybe 10 a.m., 11 a.m. 10 a.m., 11 a.m., something like that, 2 p.m. or something. I don't know. Just turn your notification bell on to all so you don't miss anything when Everything News goes live. And with that being said, shout out to everybody in the building. Sidewalk Gang, checking out. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be safe. Shout out to the gifts. Thank you. Shout out to anybody that sent a gift or a cash out. Is most definitely appreciated. Thank you very much. I'm out of here. I'll see y'all on the next one. Make sure y'all subscribing and turning your notification bells on so you don't miss me, and you can most definitely come back to the next show. Thank you, Pamela. I appreciate it. Thank you for the gifts, man. I'm gone. Tyler Perry, just nasty. Yeah, man. They said he wasn't gonna stop till he ended up like Diddy, man. It looked like he on his way, man. I'm gone for real. I see y'all.